It was from the Cataclysm. I can illuminate the technological tree. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526 Chaos is coming. The central black hole region of the Milky Way point. The artificial planetary fortress was hovering in the empty universe as usual. Point inside the planetary fortress, the atmosphere was very solemn. Point Sweeper 9527 sat up straight, staring at the information on the light screen. It's who are dead, human civilization. It couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Point if Hua is dead, what should be done with the tasks assigned by the mother civilization? Sir, the comparison results are out. The voice of the subordinate came from the side. Speak. Sweeper 9527's expression did not fluctuate at all, and he asked directly, what are the results? The similarity is over 99%. There was a hint of excitement in the subordinate's voice. It can be basically confirmed that this human civilization is the low-level civilization in the KZQXT 771 star system, Ross 154. The tentacles of Sweeper 9527 swept across the light screen. Point. After confirming it again and again, it slowly said, the coordinate information is already available. Send a warship. Speaking of this, Sweeper 9527's voice paused slightly. If you can find the corpse of painting, bring it back, even if it is a two-dimensional fragment. As long as there is a research sample, the mother civilization can speed up the research progress a lot. Okay. The subordinate nodded, turned around and prepared to give orders. A brand new light curtain automatically popped up next to Sweeper 9527. It glanced subconsciously. Wait, no need for a warship. Sweeper 9527 hurriedly interrupted his subordinate's actions. I remember that the detector number 912,133,165 is in that area. Just let it go, sir. Is it just one detector? The subordinate was stunned and stopped the action in his hand. Point. Sweeper 9527 shook his head slowly. There is no need to send warships, although the information does not clearly indicate the technological level of human civilization. More than 200 years ago, they were just a small second-level civilization. Now, at most it is a third-level civilization. While speaking, its eyes stayed on the light screen beside it. What's more, the mother civilization has sent a message. The priority of the original task has been lowered, and we need to prepare for the war that may happen next. War? A trace of doubt flashed in the eyes of the subordinates. Isn't who are dead? Why is there still a war? Sweeper 9527 glanced at the subordinates next to him and explained softly, the distress message sent by Hua will inevitably attract the rest of the pastoral faction members. It won't be long before the Milky Way will be in chaos. Each battleship is an important resource. The Orion arm is too far away from us. The battleship will consume a lot of time and energy in a round trip. It's a waste. Gliese 555 star system. The appearance of painting disrupted LV Yongchang's original series of development plans. LV Yongchang sat in the office, staring at the text and the holographic projection. Point. Suddenly, he sighed softly and looked at Ebilin, who was sitting at his desk with a bitter face. Academician. Are there any suitable planets within 50 light years nearby? Bilin did not answer LV Yongchang's question, but asked back, Professor, do you have to leave Dawnstar? As he said, he turned his head and looked at the window beside him. Point. Outside the window, the sun was shining brightly. Point. The light from the main star Gliese 555 shone through the gaps between the leaves and shone on the office window. Point. The breeze blew and the leaves swayed slowly. Point. After the environmental transformation was completed, Dawnstar had become a planet extremely suitable for human habitation. Point. Thinking that humans would leave this beautiful planet in the near future, Bilin felt a pang of heartache. Point. At this moment, he suddenly deeply understood the obsession of the older generation of humans with the Earth. We have to leave. LV Yongchang was silent for a moment, stood up from the chair, walked slowly to the window, looked up at the blue-purple sky. Humanity, I'm afraid there won't be many peaceful days. In the sky. In addition to the main star of Gliese 555, which emits endless light and heat, there is also a huge moon point around the moon. You can even see starships and equipment as small as sesame seeds. You also saw the information left by painting at the beginning. Yongchang lowered his head and retracted his gaze. If nothing unexpected happens, it has sent information to Xianyuan. The information transmitted may not be complete, but we can't afford to gamble. In the face of the possible arrival of advanced civilizations, we can only escape from our current planet as soon as possible. Hearing this, the look on Hebelin's face suddenly dimmed a lot. He sighed softly, then shook his head and said, "Professor, we haven't started the exploration of the surrounding star systems yet. You also know that the focus of the human union during this period is not on finding habitable planets." LV. Yongchang's face changed slightly. Hebelin was right. After arriving at Dawnstar, the focus of the Academy of Sciences has been on transforming Dawnstar and developing technology, and they have not explored exoplanets. But Belin pondered for a moment, then stretched out his hand to open a new holographic image. There are a few alternative destinations: Gliese 19, HIP 545 and Gliese 8496. These three systems are within 50 light years of us. Based on previous observation data, there is a high possibility that there are Earth-like planets in these three systems. Of course, there is only a certain possibility, and it cannot be confirmed. Looking at the holographic star map in front of him, LV Yongchang fell into deep thought. Gliese 19, 31.05 light years away. HIP 545, 43.37 light years away. Gliese 8496, 46.34 light years away. This is only the straight line distance between them and the Gliese 555 system. You know, these planets are not in a straight line. If you really want to search one by one, the actual distance will be far beyond expectations. Continue to observe. LV Yongchang slowly closed his eyes and sighed. Pick the most likely star system as the destination. Okay. Bilin was silent for a while and nodded hard. Maybe. LV Yongchang slightly opened his eyes and looked at Evelyn in front of him with a sad face. Humanity is going to become a wandering civilization. Bilin's heart trembled suddenly. He didn't say anything, but clenched his fists tightly. Chapter 527. Migration plan restarted. Gliese 555 main star Dyson sphere phase 2nd engineering construction base. Wang Mingyuan sat in the office, staring at the porthole on the side of the office in a trance. The base was built near the main star, and the porthole was covered with a layer of extremely effective shading film. Through the porthole, you can see that there are extremely large structures distributed around the dark red Gliese 555. Each structure is 10,000 meters long. But they are just a small part on the Dyson ring. One by one, the petite engineering ships fly in an orderly manner among these behemoths with the help of powerful mechanical arms. The engineering ships move these small parts to the designated area and splice them. Just like building blocks. However, the final product is a huge Dyson ring orbiting Gliese 555. Wang Mingyuan sighed with satisfaction and walked back to his desk. Above the desk, a holographic image with azure blue as the background appeared. It was an extremely complex set of drawings, but anyone working at this construction base can easily recognize the content of this set of drawings. The single ring structure drawings of the Dyson ring. Wang Mingyuan carefully reached out and moved the drawings in front of him and zoomed in on the details to observe carefully. He needed to ensure that there would be no accidents in the area he was responsible for. Suddenly, the tightly closed office door suddenly opened. Old Wang, something happened. Wang Mingyuan's body trembled slightly, and the drawings in the holographic projection also trembled. He retracted his gaze and raised his head to look at the person who came. Qin Sheng was his colleague and the engineering architect responsible for the Dyson Sphere Phase 2nd project. Looking at his colleague who looked so panicked, Wang Mingyuan frowned slightly, and a bad idea flashed through his mind. He lowered his voice and asked hurriedly, "What? Is there a problem with the Dyson ring?" "No, it's not the Dyson ring." Hearing this. Wang Mingyuan suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, waved his hand and said, well, it's not the Dyson ring that's causing the problem. Why are you so panicked? The Dyson ring project has been terminated. Qin Sheng's face flushed slightly, and he shouted in an extremely suppressed voice, what? Wang Mingyuan's face changed drastically, and he ran to Qin Sheng into steps, staring at Qin Sheng in front of him. The project has been terminated? Why? The Dyson Sphere Phase 2nd project has been officially launched. Why would it be terminated for no reason? Where is Academician Tang? I want to find him. As he said, Wang Mingyuan bypassed Qin Sheng, who was blocking him, and ran towards the office door. Wait. Qin Sheng stretched out his hand, grabbed Wang Mingyuan, who was excited, and shouted, it's an order from the Academy of Sciences. Wang Mingyuan's footsteps suddenly stopped. Academy of Sciences, a trace of confusion rose in his eyes, and he muttered to himself, why would the Academy of Sciences order the termination of the Dyson Sphere project? I don't know the specific situation, but I guess the official notice will be issued soon. At this point, Qin Sheng sighed slightly. I also heard the news from Academician Tang's office. It is said that, ding, dong, a crisp prompt sound interrupted Qin Sheng's words, accompanied by the Azure particle special effects. A brand new holographic projection slowly emerged above the desk. Looking at the big words at the top of the holographic projection, Wang Mingyuan's expression was slightly solemn, and he hurriedly turned and walked towards his desk. It's an announcement from the Academy of Sciences. Qin Sheng followed Wang Mingyuan's footsteps and said in a deep voice, maybe something big has happened. Letter to all citizens of the People's Federation. Dear citizens of the People's Federation, I'm Chief Scientist LV Yongchang. With the joint efforts of all of us, mankind has overcome numerous hardships and arrived at the Gliese 555 star system. After hundreds of years of transformation, Dawn has become our ideal home point. But the announcement is not long, but the amount of information in it is extremely huge. Wang Mingyuan and Qin Sheng stared at the text and the holographic projection in a daze and swallowed hard. Migration. Plan. Restart. Hibernation. Advanced civilization. Wang Mingyuan's lips trembled slightly, and a trace of resentment rose in his eyes. Fuck. He slapped the desk in front of him hard. His face flushed, and whispered, another damn advanced civilization. Migrate. Again. We have just lived a peaceful life for so long. Why do we have to migrate again? We are already a level 4 civilization. Wang Mingyuan walked to the porthole excitedly, pointing at the behemoth outside the porthole. Look at that. Give us enough time, we can even control the stars. Isn't this still better than that damn advanced civilization? Old Wang. Qin Sheng looked at Wang Mingyuan in front of him with complicated eyes, and sighed again. Calm down. The Academy of Sciences must have considered various factors before issuing the order. Abandoning Dawn Star should be an extremely difficult decision for the Academy of Sciences. Wang Mingyuan's body trembled slightly, and his eyes stared straight at the scene outside the porthole. In the cold and silent universe, the dark red Gliese 555 burned quietly, emitting insignificant light and heat in all directions. 2 years. Wang Mingyuan's eyes were slightly red. I hibernated for 225 years, and I only woke up for 2 years. Yes, brain activity basically stopped during hibernation, and I have no memory of this. But 225 years ago, I lived in the surface city of Vos 154 and the surface city of Proxima B. At that time, I had never seen the real blue sky and white clouds. Do you know how I felt when I first arrived at dawn? Qin Sheng looked at Wang Mingyuan with more and more complicated eyes. What Wang Mingyuan said was not his inner thoughts. Although they have only been awake for a short 2 years, the human union has brought them endless surprises, thinking that these surprises will soon turn into bubbles, and they will lie in the cold hibernation cabin again. Qin Sheng subconsciously clenched his fists. Don't blame the Academy of Sciences. A familiar voice sounded at the door. Professor Lu was forced to give the order. Academician Tang, Wang Mingyuan and Qin Sheng were slightly startled, and said in unison, it's not very clear in the announcement, it just says advanced civilization. Academician Tang cast a deep gaze at the holographic projection on the desk. This is to avoid causing panic. Today's human beings are only level 4 civilization, but we may be facing level 7 or even level 8 civilization. They may be the most powerful civilization in the universe. Today's human beings have no choice but to escape. Chapter 528, Restarting the Research Project. 8th level civilization. Wang Mengyan's pupils dilated slightly, swallowed hard, and murmured to himself, it may even be an alliance formed by several 8th level civilizations. Academician Tang sighed in a low voice. Human beings want to survive in the universe. It's difficult. It's too difficult. As he said this, Academician Tang shook his head repeatedly. But why would such a powerful being notice humans? Qin Sheng's face was full of confusion upon hearing this. Academician Tang sighed deeply. During Ross 154, humans were forced to get involved in this dispute. As he spoke, Academician Tang shook his head hesitantly and corrected. No, to be more precise, humans were involved when we were on Earth. Forget it. These are things that the Academy of Sciences should worry about. Academician Tang turned around with a lonely look, waved his hand and said, just follow the arrangements of the Academy of Sciences, Professor Lu. I won't lie to you. Qin Sheng and Wang Mengyan watched Academician Tang leave the office. They looked at each other speechlessly. Point on the other side. The Dawn Star Academy of Sciences, Professor, the hibernation plan has been successfully launched. An electronic synthesized voice came from a speaker on the side. The Dyson Sphere Phase 2nd project has been stopped, and the Dyson Cloud antimatter preparation system is operating at full power. The Ice Giant Star Gold Mining Project and the Gas Giant Planet Collection Project are in progress simultaneously. Lu Yongchang looked at the projects being executed one after another in the holographic projection, with a hint of exhaustion in his eyes. Is there any news from Hebelin? Not yet. Zero responded quickly. Academician Yi is doing his best to screen the observation data. Lu Yongchang was silent for a while, then slowly stood up from the chair. Ling, let Fang Zhu come to my place. I want to start another two-dimensional fragment research project. I don't agree. This is too dangerous. Fang Zhu's voice of objection came from the front. If the painting is not dead, if we study it rashly, it will inevitably lead to uncontrollable situations. Yongchang, have you forgotten how the painting was resurrected? Behind the desk, Lu Yongchang looked at Fang Zhu in front of him calmly. Of course I remember, but humans today have no hope of survival at all. According to what Paint said, the pastoral civilization is filled with a group of dimensional creatures. You've seen two-dimensional creatures before. If Ua hadn't committed suicide, it would be impossible for humans to survive. What if there are 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, or even 6-dimensional creatures? If they receive a message from the painting, how will humans escape? As he spoke, Lu Yongchang sighed softly. The surrounding habitable star systems are too far away. Even if an antimatter engine is used, it can only increase the maximum cruising speed of the human fleet to 50% of the speed of light. This is too slow. Fang Zhu fell into silence point after a long time. He also sighed. However, studying two-dimensional fragments cannot bring any changes to the current human beings. No. Lu Yongchang stood up from his chair, looked at Fang Zhu with piercing eyes, and shouted in a deep voice, there has been a change. Remember the gravity shield outside the restraints. I want to analyze the mystery of gravity from this. Speaking of this, Lu Yongchang took a deep breath. As long as we can master gravity, we can master curvature navigation technology. In this way, humans will be able to travel to more distant habitable star systems, instead of surviving in such a small area of 50 light years. What's more, I think that, as long as we escape the first round of searches, humanity has hope of survival. Why? Fang Zhu asked with a confused expression. Painting died in our hands. How could the pastoral civilization let us go? The corners of Lu Yongchang's mouth raised slightly. Do you still remember the civilization of the sweepers mentioned in the painting? Fang Zhu was startled, and a vague idea came to his mind. You mean, that's right. The smile on Lu Yongchang's face became even bigger. According to Hua, in order to avoid accidents in the Ring Universe Particle Accelerator, the Sweeper civilization is constantly searching for traces of the pastoral civilization. What do you think will happen if the pastoral civilization comes to the Milky Way? There was a hint of excitement in Fang Zhu's eyes, and he slowly uttered a word. War. Yes, it's war. Lu Yongchang clapped his hands gently. This is the chance for human civilization to survive. Even if the pastoral civilization came to the galaxy for us, would the Sweeper civilization believe it? By then, I'm afraid they don't have time to take care of us. A little shrimp. Fang Zhu suddenly stood up from his chair, clasped his hands behind his back, paced back and forth in the office, and kept mumbling something. Gradually, the light in Fang Zhu's eyes became brighter and brighter. Suddenly, he raised his head and stared directly at Lu Yongchang. What if there is paint's backhand in the restraint device? What should we do then? Lu Yongchang shrugged and said with a free and easy expression, now that things have come to this, what else can we do besides taking a gamble? It can't get any worse, can it? Fang Zhu smiled bitterly. That's right. The human condition could not get any worse. Fang Zhu took a deep breath and calmed down the turbulent emotions in his heart. In that case, let's start researching as soon as possible. We humans don't have much time. 3 days later, the first laboratory of the Dawnstar Human Alliance Academy. LV Yongchang stared at the picture in the holographic projection with full concentration. With the experience of the first disassembly, the second disassembly process seemed particularly smooth. Not long after, under Zero's control, several robots easily removed the masking equipment around the restraint device, revealing the core area. In the holographic picture, the core area is the same black unknown substance, and the outer area is an absurdly powerful gravitational shield. Sure enough, LV Yongchang looked at the familiar scene and muttered to himself, there is no two-dimensional core at all. Hua lied to us from the beginning. Fang Zhu did not reply. He was highly focused and stared at the black unknown substance in the core area. Last time Hua came out from here. Don't worry. LV Yongchang patted Fang Zhu's shoulder gently. I don't think the painting will hide in here. These two-dimensional fragments are weapons and equipment. Isn't it afraid of being launched as a weapon? Fang Zhu was stunned for a moment, then laughed dumbly, and put down his hanging heart. In the picture, the robot is doing the final debugging work. When the debugging is completed, various observation instruments will send back various data. And the work of LV Yongchang and others is to find out the mystery behind gravity from these extremely complicated data. Chapter 529 Superstring Gravitational Field. Time flies with the gradual implementation of the hibernation plan and migration plan. The originally lively Dawnstar once again became deserted. The first laboratory of the Academy of Sciences still looked busy. Where's Yongchang? Fang Zhu frowned slightly and asked in a low voice, are you still in the office? Su Yutang nodded slightly and spread his hands helplessly. You also know his temper. During this period, I can't enter the office, except when delivering meals. Hearing this, Fang Zhu sighed softly. How long has it been before he finished speaking? The sound of the door moving came from the side. Fang Zhu perked up and suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of Lu Yongchang's office. The door is open. Lu Yongchang frowned and stared blankly at the empty corridor in front of him. He walked out of the office with a slightly pale face and kept mumbling something. Seeing Lu Yongchang's appearance, Fang Zhu couldn't help but panic. At this critical moment, as the backbone of human civilization, nothing can happen to Lu Yongchang. He hurriedly walked towards Lu Yongchang. No, this isn't right. One is missing. As the distance between the two continued to decrease, Lu Yongchang's murmur also reached Fang Zhu's ears. Missing one. What's missing? Fang Zhu was stunned and subconsciously called out softly, Yongchang. Lu Yongchang trembled slightly, turned his head, and cast his confused eyes on Fang Zhu. After seeing Fang Zhu and Su Yutong, the confusion in Lu Yongchang's eyes dissipated a lot. He reluctantly twitched the corners of his mouth and showed an ugly smile. It's you. Fang Zhu struggled for a moment, but finally asked the question in his mind. What did you mean by what you just said? What's missing. Hearing this, Lu Yongchang fell into silence, and the confusion in his eyes became a little thicker again. Should it's a constant that describes gravity. As he spoke, Lu Yongchang waved his hand casually in the air. A holographic projection instantly appeared in front of Fang Zhu. Point in the projection, there are densely packed and extremely complex formula symbols and calculation processes. This is Fang Zhu frowned and glanced, feeling a pain in his brain, but he still managed to follow part of Lu Yongchang's thoughts. Gravitational field equation. No. Fang Zhu shook his head repeatedly, rejecting his own judgment. There seems to be something different. Lu Yongchang explained softly. There are some differences. Perhaps you can call it the superstring gravitational field equation. As the name suggests, unlike the original gravitational field equation, it is based on superstring theory. Fang Zhu's breath suffocated slightly. This completely touched upon his knowledge blind spot. But as the second in command of the Academy of Sciences, he still knows some basic knowledge. Superstring theory is a type of string theory. Both superstring theory and string theory believe that the basic unit of the universe is not particles, but strings. Strings move in space, creating various particles. In other words, all particles in the universe are nothing more than different vibration modes of strings, and all matter and energy can be explained by the splitting and combining of strings. It is precisely for this reason that with the development of mankind, superstring theory has become the most promising theory to unify elementary particles in the four interacting forces. I don't know if he noticed the thoughts that flashed in Fang Zhu's mind. Lu Yongchang, who was looking at the holographic projection in ecstasy, murmured in a low voice, perhaps this equation can realize the grand unified theory that mankind has been pursuing for a long time. Grand unified theory. This time, Fang Zhu couldn't hold back the surprise in his heart and exclaimed. Don't blame him for reacting violently. The grand unified theory has had an inexplicable attraction for all scientists since the beginning of the Earth's time. As we all know, there are four fundamental forces of interaction in the universe. Strong interaction, weak interaction, gravitational force and electromagnetic interaction. These four interacting forces build the entire universe. So, theoretically speaking, there must be a theory that combines these four forces. This is the so-called grand unified theory. Up to now, human beings who have become a level 4 civilization have completed the unification of the three interacting forces of strong, weak and electromagnetic forces, but gravity is still the most mysterious existence. Fang Zhu raised his slightly trembling right hand and gently touched the void holographic projection. On the one hand, he hopes that Lu Yongchang can bring good news to mankind. On the other hand, he was well aware of the difficulty of the grand unified theory and was worried that Lu Yongchang would hit a wall on it. He murmured in a low voice with an extremely complicated expression, Yongchang, is there any result? There are certain consequences. Lu Yongchang frowned, raised his hand and gently rubbed his temples. Excessive thinking put a huge burden on his brain. Don't get your hopes up too much, though. This equation is not complete. Speaking of this, Lu Yongchang suddenly frowned. If we find this constant, maybe humans can use it to realize curvature navigation technology. In the gap between the two people's conversation, familiar faces came to LV Yongchang. Obviously, they were attracted by Fang Zhu's exclamation just now. Everyone stood on tiptoe and looked at the azure holographic image in front of LV Yongchang. Professor, has there been any progress in the grand unified theory? Tao Yuda, who was a little impatient, asked loudly. Looking at the eager expressions on the faces of the people around him, LV Yongchang glanced at Fang Zhu helplessly and then stretched out his hand again in the air under Zero's control. The holographic image was instantly enlarged. The complex formulas and calculation processes were displayed in front of everyone in the laboratory. Since everyone is here, I will briefly explain it. LV Yongchang cleared his throat and began to explain. According to current research, the Randall-Sundrum model may be the space-time model that best fits the current universe. This theory believes that the space-time we live in is 5-dimensional. It includes 4 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time, and humans, or 3-dimensional life, live in a 1+3-dimensional hyperspace in the 5-dimensional space-time. In superstring theory, this hyperspace is called a membrane. Electromagnetic force, weak force, and strong force are all transmitted on this membrane, and will not enter the 5th dimension. Only gravity can propagate in all dimensions. This is why it is difficult for us to analyze gravity, and this superstring gravitational field describes the gravitational field transmitted in this 5-dimensional space-time. With it, we can manipulate gravity in disguise and realize the so-called curvature navigation. Of course, on this basis, I have another conjecture. Speaking of this, Yongchang was silent for a while and added again, it's just a conjecture. Today's humans can't do this. If we can temporarily jump out of this membrane and enter the 5th dimension of space-time, perhaps we can realize the so-called wormhole transmission technology. Chapter 530 The Missing Constant, Searching for the Graviton. As Yongchang's voice slowly fell, the laboratory became extremely quiet. Only the sounds of some instruments and the slight breathing of everyone were left. For a long time. Tao Yuda's slightly hesitant voice sounded from the side. Professor, this equation, there, seems to be a little problem. Hearing this, Yongchang suddenly showed a smile on his face. He nodded to Tao Yuda with satisfaction. Not bad. At present, it is very likely that there is a constant that describes gravity. Then, Tao Yuda's eyes flashed with anxiety. He scratched his head hard and said, how should we find this constant? Tao Yuda now looked at the holographic projection in front of him, feeling like there were ants crawling on his body. In his opinion, the equation without the necessary constant is imperfect. Under the gaze of everyone, Yongchang fell into a long silence. Perhaps we have to look for it from the direction of gravitons. Satellite particle accelerator? Tao Yuda's expression moved slightly, and he asked in a low voice. Yongchang hesitated for a moment, then shook his head slowly and said, the energy level is too low. It is impossible for the satellite particle accelerator to collide with gravitons. The laboratory fell into silence again. Go and get busy. Let me think about it again. Yongchang waved his hand and dispersed the people around him. Yongchang, a familiar voice came from behind. Yongchang turned around and met Su Yutang's eyes. He saw countless unspeakable emotions in Su Yutang's eyes. For a moment, Yongchang didn't know what to say and could only cast a guilty look at her. Su Yutang sighed softly and handed the high concentration nutrient solution in her hand to Yongchang. Take care of yourself. You can't fall down now. Yongchang breathed a sigh of relief, took the nutrient solution, and nodded with a smile. Don't worry. After coming out to take a breath and relieve some of the fatigue of his brain, Yongchang locked himself in the office again. This time, he returned to his seat and ignored the holographic projection above the desk. All the theoretical foundation work that needed to be done had been completed, and it was time for him to seek help from the technology tree. Hopefully, the fog at the top of the technology tree can dissipate a little this time. With a faint hope, Yongchang took a deep breath and quickly closed his eyes. His mind moved slightly. When he opened his eyes again, the world in front of him had changed. The technology tree composed of bright white lines quietly floated in the familiar fluorescent green background. Yongchang raised his head and turned his attention to the top of the technology tree. Compared with not long ago, the fog above the technology tree has dissipated a lot. Obviously, his hard work during this period has worked. As several new cursors appeared on it. The boundary between the 4th level civilization and the 5th level civilization also appeared in front of him. Theoretical breakthrough, superstring gravitational field equation, missing constant, searching for gravitons, preliminary application of superstring gravitational field equation, curvature navigation technology, advanced application of superstring gravitational field equation, primary gravitational shield. The sight gradually moved upward. At the top of a series of dim cursors, an almost invisible cursor appeared in front of Yongchang. Grand Unified Theory. When Yongchang saw this cursor, his breath was slightly choked. As expected. The key to entering the 5th level civilization is to master the Grand Unified Theory. And the superstring gravitational field equation is the last piece of the puzzle of this theory. Yongchang quickly retracted his gaze and focused on the cursor whose brightness was not yet halfway. Missing constant. Searching for gravitons. After just a few seconds a strong sense of dizziness followed. At the same time, an unparalleled sense of clarity emerged in the brain. Overclocking. Time is very precious, especially for this kind of technology that has not yet been mastered to half the degree, and a little carelessness will lead to coma. Therefore, Yongchang did not waste time and directly focused all his attention on the two keywords of gravitons and constants. In an instant, countless knowledge points gushed out of his mind. Experimental data, theoretical system. These knowledge points are mixed together and collide with each other, providing Yongchang with a constant source of inspiration. Perhaps because they knew what Yongchang was doing at this time, the researchers in the laboratory would turn their heads and look in the direction of the office from time to time. There is no waypoint, whether it is the gravitational field equation based on superstring theory or the search for gravitons. It has deeply attracted the attention of a group of scientists. Sure. 1 day later, under the gaze of everyone, the office door suddenly opened. A figure with a haggard face but extremely bright eyes staggered out of the office. Professor Tao Yuda was the first to put down his work and greeted Yongchang. Looking at Tao Yuda jogging towards him, Yongchang showed a faint smile. Professor, is there any progress? Yongchang nodded gently. With the overclock thinking provided by the technology tree, he successfully grasped that hint of inspiration. But is it too difficult to realize this inspiration? Thinking of this, Yongchang's expression suddenly became strange. Professor, please tell me. Tao Yuda and a group of researchers looked at the strange expression on Yongchang's face, and their hearts were like being scratched by a cat. I know you are anxious, but don't be anxious. Let me think about it first. As if he didn't see the fiery eyes of the people around him, Yongchang waved his hand and stood there in thought. Tao Yuda, hiss. After thinking for a while, Yongchang scratched his head and shouted, Hebelin? Where is Hebelin? Teacher, professor, I'm here. A faint voice came from the outside of the crowd. A few seconds later, under the gaze of everyone, Hebelin squeezed into the crowd with difficulty. Are there any newly observed black holes around us? Yongchang looked extremely solemn and asked directly, black hole? Hebelin was stunned by the question. Hey, professor, didn't you say you were going to find a star system suitable for living? Why did it become a black hole again? Bilin stretched out his hand and dragged a holographic projection and called up a series of observation records with a confused look on his face. Black hole. Bilin's voice was full of hesitation. Not long ago, we found traces of a small black hole, but its distance from us, it's a bit far. Yongchang's eyes suddenly lit up. What's the specific value? About 132 light years. Bilin spread his hands and responded helplessly. Chapter 531. Visitors from outside. Looking at the star map in the holographic projection, Yongchang couldn't help but fall into deep thought. 132 light years. It sounds like this distance is a bit exaggerated. Since the development of human civilization, the total mileage of interstellar navigation is estimated to have not exceeded this number, but that is in the past after all. For today's human civilization, 132 light years is not an unbearable distance. After the antimatter engine is installed, the maximum cruising speed of the human fleet can be close to 50% of the speed of light. In other words, even if the acceleration and deceleration time is added, it only takes about 350 years for humans to reach the vicinity of the small black hole. Of course, this is under the condition of sufficient fuel. And the problem lies here. Although the Dyson Cloud antimatter preparation base has been successfully built, the antimatter stored by humans now is far from enough to support humans to sail such a distance. Of course, there is a corresponding solution point. Or, humans wait for a while on Dawn Star, wait until the Dyson Cloud antimatter preparation base produces enough antimatter fuel before starting interstellar navigation point. Or, take the Dyson Cloud with you and run to a nearby star system to complete the replenishment of antimatter fuel there. Point, then adjust the route to the black hole point. It took less than a second to think, and LV Yongchang came up with the answer the second option. This is it. LV Yongchang pointed to the small black hole in the holographic projection with a firm tone. Whether humans can master the curvature navigation technology depends on whether it is powerful enough. Complete the pre-navigation preparations as quickly as possible. As for the antimatter fuel problem, LV Yongchang moved his finger slightly and slightly changed the route in the star map. He marked a star system along the way. Replenish it in this star system. 0. Quickly gave the calculation result point, including the time for replenishing antimatter fuel. The entire journey will take 402.3 years. He Bill and checked the star map and nodded in agreement. Point, it was not too long. Point, replenishing antimatter fuel allows Zero to control the entire journey. Point, all they have to do is close their eyes and open them, and they will reach their destination point. But the next moment, a trace of confusion rose in his eyes. After going around in a circle, Professor Liu still hasn't explained why he wants to go near the black hole. Professor, there is no problem with the route, but why do we have to go near the black hole? There is not a safe place. Billen's words resonated with many people. Point, as the most powerful celestial body in the universe, even a small black hole is not something that humans can contend with today. Its huge gravitational force makes the escape velocity within the event horizon exceed the speed of light. Point, simply put, within a certain range, even light cannot escape the attraction of a black hole. Point, such a dangerous area naturally caused concern among many scientific researchers. What if the human fleet had an accident and entered the event horizon of the black hole? Liu Yongchang sighed slightly. Remember what I said not long ago? We lack a constant to describe the gravitational field. Seeing everyone around nod, he continued to explain. Only if we find the illusory graviton can we have a chance to get that constant. To get the graviton, the energy of the satellite particle accelerator is far from enough. Of course, we can build a larger particle accelerator. LV Yongchang shrugged. For example, around Aurora, or around Gliese 555, or even around a star system particle accelerator. But we don't have the time. LV Yongchang's eyes dimmed a little. We don't know when the pastoral school will come here, so I thought of a shortcut. LV Yongchang turned his head to look at the small black hole marked in the holographic projection, with a bit of longing in his eyes. Perhaps we can rely on the powerful gravity of the black hole to find the mysterious graviton. Bellin and a group of researchers suddenly realized, and their eyes also showed a similar look to LV Yongchang. Point, that's a black hole. So far, the most powerful celestial body known to mankind. Point, no researcher can resist the charm of a black hole. Point, if there is, then change to a larger black hole. Beep, beep, beep. The piercing alarm sounded from all around, interrupting the imagination of LV Yongchang and a group of researchers looking at the blood-red holographic warning signs that kept appearing around him. LV Yongchang suddenly came back to his senses. 0. What happened? Before the voice fell, the familiar electronic synthesized voice sounded. Professor, the antimatter collection device outside the Gliese 555 star system detected a UFO. The antimatter collection device was put into use before the Dyson sphere phase I project. Point, the antimatter collection device, which is similar to a huge funnel, wanders around the Gliese 555 star system, collecting antimatter that escapes from the universe. Point, at the same time, these antimatter collection devices are also integrated with high precision detection units. It can also be regarded as the first warning line of human civilization. Point, therefore, when LV Yongchang heard this, his expression suddenly changed. Point, UFOs outside the star system. Subconsciously, he thought of the pastoral civilization he just mentioned. So fast, he blurted out, how is it possible? The researchers around them naturally had the same idea. Point, everyone showed a little panic on their faces in the originally calm laboratory. A panic atmosphere was spreading. Calm down. LV Yongchang looked serious and shouted in a deep voice, "Why are you panicking? The specific situation has not been determined yet. Calm down. According to the information revealed by Hua, there is only one pastoral civilization in the Milky Way, Hua in other words, other pastoral civilizations need to sail across the Milky Way to come to us. How much time has passed?" After Lu Yongchang's shout, the researchers barely regained their composure. Looking at the eyes of everyone around him, Lu Yongchang issued one order after another in an orderly manner. 0. Notifies AOZG that except for Earth, the starships belonging to the battle formation will set sail immediately. Launch Light Satellite 1 Planetary Fortress. Prepare to launch the Dandelion plan. While issuing orders, Lu Yongchang's eyes showed some worry. Yes, normal interstellar travel cannot have such a high speed. But what if the other party has mastered wormhole technology? According to the superstring gravitational field equation, wormhole technology is possible. Yongchang, the real-time image is out. Fang Zhu's voice came from the side, and at the same time, a holographic projection with a deep blue background was dragged to his side. LV Yongchang quickly concealed the worry in his eyes and cast his eyes on the holographic screen. Just one glance, he was stunned. The UFO is spherical and dark grey. The diameter is about 100 meters, very small. Its flying speed is not fast, even slower than the antimatter collection device next to it. This is not a pastoral civilization. LV Yongchang looked at the picture with some doubts and murmured in a low voice, "If the painting is telling the truth, the pastoral civilization should be all-dimensional creatures, just like the painting. It is either a low-dimensional life or a high-dimensional life that we cannot see. In short, it can never be like this." Chapter 530 to Level 6. Level 7, or the heavy burden in Lu Yongchang's heart suddenly relaxed. It's okay if it's not a pastoral civilization. But the next moment, a new confusion emerged in Lu Yongchang's heart. If it's not a pastoral civilization, then what is the origin of that spherical flying object that looks very high-tech outside the Gliese 555 star system? Lu Yongchang, who was staring at the holographic projection, suddenly realized a problem. Only one. Lu Yongchang glanced at Fang Zhu in surprise. "Are there no other similar flying objects?" Fang Zhu shook his head and responded with some confusion. "So far, the antimatter collection device has only detected one UFO." Lu Yongchang's face changed slightly. "This kind of behavior of coming to a strange star system alone. Detector?" Lu Yongchang and Fang Zhu said in unison. Seeing each other reveal their inner speculations, both of them had knowing smiles on their faces. "It's just a detector." Lu Yongchang breathed a sigh of relief and said with a relaxed expression, "I was shocked. I thought the pastoral party came here so quickly." Fang Zhu's face was also full of joy. "Yeah, I don't know what level of civilization would actually take a fancy to such a barren star system. I guess it's not some advanced civilization." Lu Yongchang chuckled, nodded in agreement, and then said casually, "0. How did it appear? From which direction did it come? Bring up the video and show me." The words fell. The holographic projection screen changes rapidly. A familiar picture then appeared in front of him. It was dark and dead, with only the dots of light in the distance bringing some peace of mind. Suddenly, the quiet and lifeless scene changed slightly. Without any warning, a dark grey spherical flying object suddenly appeared on the screen. Seeing this scene, Lu Yongchang felt his heart skip a beat. Broken. This unusually familiar picture directly touched the DNA of everyone present. F*CK*N warp. Navigation. 4. A time. Just after returning to tranquility, the laboratory fell into panic again. The relaxed expression on Lu Yongchang's face had completely disappeared, replaced by an unprecedented sense of solemnity. How is it possible? With curvature navigation technology, it is at least a level 4 civilization that has developed to a certain extent. How could they be interested in this barren land before he could think too much? Lu Yongchang said directly, 0. Send out a detector and adjust the position of every antimatter collection device nearby. I need to see the whole picture of this detector. Receive. The moment the electronic synthesized sound sounded, the angle of the picture in the holographic projection also began to change. The camera moved slowly. The full picture of the detector then appeared in front of a group of scientific researchers. Suddenly, where's its power system? Fang Zhu's horrified voice came from the side. What drives him, Lu? Yongchang did not reply, but looked at the holographic projection in front of him with a gloomy expression. There is no Hall propulsion device. There are no antimatter engine nozzles. There are no messy propulsion system nozzles. The entire detector is a round sphere, but just such a sphere is flying unswervingly towards the Gliese 555 star system. Something big happened. There were only these 4 words left in Lu Yongchang's mind. Although the pastoralists did not come, an equally terrifying advanced civilization did, although he still doesn't know what civilization sent this detector, but from the curvature navigation and mysterious propulsion system, it can be seen that the civilization that created this detector is definitely not something that today's humans can resist. Professor, the probe has arrived at its destination. The moment the electronic synthesized sound sounded, dozens of detectors appeared in the holographic projection. Lu Yongchang frowned. After thinking for a moment, he said directly, send it a signal. Ask its purpose. Gliese 555 outside the star system. In the cold and dead space of the universe, a dark gray spherical detector moved slowly and steadily forward along its original direction. Dozens of human detectors follow it, sending it electromagnetic waves of 1420 MHz. This is the experience I learned from painting, but obviously, the civilization behind this detector is not as easy to talk to as the painting. Facing the waves of electromagnetic waves, the spherical detector showed no sign and continued to move in the direction of the Gliese 555 star system. Inside the first laboratory of Dawn Star, Lu Yongchang looked at the picture in the holographic projection with an ugly expression. This kind of arrogance unique to advanced civilization gave him a bad feeling. 0. Control the detector to approach it and check its various data. Lu Yongchang struggled to squeeze out an order. More than 10 minutes later, a steady stream of data appeared on the huge holographic projection in front of everyone. In the laboratory, as rows of data appeared, the atmosphere became colder and colder. This is impossible. Lu Yongchang's hands trembled slightly as he looked at the data in front of him in disbelief. According to the various observation data sent back by the detector, this dark gray detector is an extremely standard sphere. There is no error on its surface. In other words, with the current human technology, it is impossible to find the error. Not only that, under the shooting of high precision cameras, there is no connection like welds on its surface. It's as if it is one piece. This made Lu Yongchang think of an incredible technology, strong interaction material. Only this kind of material that exists in theory can make such a detector. What level of civilization is this detector? Fang Zhu's horrified voice came from the side. Level 6 or level 7. It's possible. Lu Yongchang was silent for a while and said in a low voice, it's level 8, sweeper civilization. In the laboratory, there was silence. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533. Lu Yongchang's words brought the atmosphere in the laboratory directly to freezing point. Cleaner civilization. Fang Zhu next to him swallowed hard, his pupils trembled slightly, and he murmured to himself with rapid breathing, why did they come to us? Lu Yongchang didn't speak, he just sorted through all the known information in his mind. After a few seconds, he let out a long breath. I see. Lu Yongchang's face was gloomy, and his originally straight waist was slightly bent at this moment. He murmured in an extremely low voice, that message was not sent to the pastoralists. What? Hearing Lu Yongchang's words, Fang Zhu was stunned and subconsciously asked, what information? Seeing the depressed look on Lu Yongchang's backbone, Fang Zhu suddenly became anxious. I said Yongchang, when did this happen? What kind of information is this? We are now, Lu Yongchang raised his hand to support the experimental table in front of him and interrupted Fang Zhu's words in a heavy tone. Do you still remember the last distress message in the painting? Fang Zhu was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Of course I remember. Before he finished speaking, Fang Zhu's eyes suddenly widened. He seemed to realize the meaning of Lu Yongchang's words. You mean that message was sent to sweeper civilization? No, aren't they enemies? Lu Yongchang shook his head slowly and corrected softly. They are not issued to civilized sweepers. If I guessed correctly, that incomplete message should be a broadcast to the entire universe. At least, it is a broadcast for those advanced civilizations in the universe. Before Fang Zhu could ask, Lu Yongchang continued, the Type 2 or Type 3 artificial intelligence, who are mentioned as dangerous technology, it understandably wants to nip this danger in the bud. Fortunately, Zero solved the painting in time, and all its information was not sent out. Human civilization is now famous in the universe. Lu Yongchang's voice was a little bitter. Being famous at this critical time is not a good thing. Lu Yongchang felt a chill coming from behind when he thought of the image of all the advanced civilizations in the universe focusing their attention on a corner of the Milky Way. Professor, I think, Tao Yuda's voice came from not far away. We shouldn't think about things so far away now. As he spoke, Tao Yuda stared straight at the giant holographic projection in front of him, swallowed and said again, that detector seems to have stopped. Gliese 555 outside the star system point. The dark gray spherical detector stopped its progress and hovered quietly in the universe point. While the antimatter collection devices and detectors are jointly investigating, detectors from the sweeper civilization are also investigating the surrounding technological creations. The Type I artificial intelligence built into the spherical detector is constantly comparing the collected data with the data from painting in the database point. The content of the comparison is naturally the style of these technological creations. Every civilization in the universe has different living environments, different life forms, and different types of technologies. Therefore, the styles of civilization creations are also all kinds of strange, and there are almost no identical possibilities. Therefore, the style of civilization's creations has also become the identity card of civilization in the universe point. At this time, the detector from the sweeper civilization is completing this comparison work. It needs to make sure that it has not found the wrong person point. Messages are sent to the central black whole region of the Milky Way in a form that humans do not understand. Probe number 912,133,165 has successfully arrived at the target star system. Technological artifacts detected and comparison mission in progress. The comparison is completed. The similarity reaches 99% and it is confirmed to be human civilization. Civilization level is being judged. Warning. This civilization has mastered antimatter technology and the mission is at risk of failure. Do you want to continue? Warn what's going on? Lu Yongchang frowned and looked at the picture returned by the camera with a blank expression. What does this sweeper civilization mean? Facing Lu Yongchang's questions, there was silence in the laboratory point. All the researchers shook their heads in confusion. Hot. Lu Yongchang rarely used foul language point. This is not as exciting as rushing directly into the Gliese 555 star system. At least this way, humans can attack them without restraint point. If you win, everyone will be happy. If you lose, you can activate the dandelion plan and wait to die in peace point. But now this operation that was neither up nor down made him feel confused point. What to do next? Fight back? No one has stated their intention yet. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. The first shot of war must not be fired by human civilization. After all, compared with the sweeper civilization, even if it becomes a 4th level civilization, humans are just larger ants. Now all that's coming is the detector. Lu Yongchang didn't want to see the battleship of the sweeper civilization parked in front of his home, sitting and watching a show. This is not Lu Yongchang's behavior. Lu Yongchang put his hands behind his back and paced back and forth in the laboratory, thinking about the next countermeasures. The central black hole area of the Milky Way point inside the stationary artificial planet point. A message flashed on an inconspicuous light screen. No, detector number 912,133,165. The next second, a tentacle reached out from a distance point. The tentacle casually passed by, and the light screen flashing with information disappeared instantly. What's wrong? The voice of Sweeper 9527 came from a distance. Nothing. It's the data report sent back by the detector. The person who closed the light screen responded respectfully, just some insignificant comparison data. Hearing this, Sweeper 9527 nodded slightly to express his agreement. It's just a low-level civilization. Let the built-in type I artificial intelligence of the detector handle it by itself. Our primary goal now is the pastoral civilization, according to the data sent back by the mother civilization. 4-dimensional space fluctuations appeared in the Triangulum Galaxy Bridge area. They are coming. The atmosphere in the planetary fortress suddenly became solemn. You mean another? Subordinate's voice sounded. Is it the 4-dimensional creature, time, who came this time? Sweeper 9527 fell into silence, and his tentacles unconsciously dragged the light curtain in front of him for a long time. It is very likely. He looked extremely serious and said in a solemn tone, continue to increase energy reserves. This may be a tough battle. Chapter 534 Plan. Outside the Gliese 555 star system. Warning. The spherical detector is still persistently sending warning messages to the central black hole region of the Milky Way point. When the waiting time reaches the preset standard, the Type I artificial intelligence built into the detector finally stops its somewhat stereotyped behavior. Error. No response. Backup plan is starting. Continue to implement the 2-dimensional debris recovery plan. Finally, after a few minutes of careful consideration, LV Yongchang chose to wait patiently. Of course, during the waiting period, humans were not idle. On the one hand, the Academy of Sciences began to discuss solutions to this crisis. On the other hand, a small planet class, TOT, material storage ships, and home ships, equipped with antimatter engines and star gold carbonine composite armor are scattered around the Gliese 555 star system point. Similar to the Dandelion plan, these starships will head towards the already selected star system at the moment when the Sweeper civilization shows its malice. The remaining Golden Crow battleships, dimensional strike ships, battering rams, and other armed fleets all withdrew to Dawnstar, relying on Dawnstar and Light Moon Planet Fortress to deploy a defensive formation. As for LV Yongchang and a group of scientific researchers, when the Sweeper civilization probe was stagnant, they had already boarded the human flagship, Earth, in the synchronous orbit of Dawnstar. Unlike the migration in the Proxima era, there is no trace of humans on Dawnstar at present, except for some plants and animals that cannot be taken away. LV Yongchang sat in his long-lost seat, stretched out his hand to brush the armrest of the command chair, and sighed slightly. Professor, beside him, Zaozij's voice came. All combat units have been deployed. We are now, as he said. Zaoziju turned his head and glanced at the stationary probe in the holographic projection, and hesitated and said, do we need to retreat? While it hasn't moved yet, we can preserve most of the living forces of mankind. LV Yongchang knew what Zaoziji meant by this sentence. It's nothing more than sacrificing some of the Golden Crow battleships to buy enough time for Earth and the rest of the starships to retreat. He shook his head firmly and refused. No need. In front of the civilization that has mastered the curvature navigation technology, our escape speed is too slow. We stay, which can increase the success rate of the Dandelion plan. Even if there is only a 0.01% possibility, it's good. Human civilization. As he said, Lu Yongchang closed his eyes, leaned back on the chair, and sighed deeply. It must not perish in my hands. Never, he murmured to himself. Professor, the detector is moving. Tao Yuda's exclamation sounded in the command center of Earth. Lu Yongchang opened his eyes suddenly, stood up and looked at the huge holographic projection in front of him. Point in the holographic projection, the spherical detector that had been stagnant in place suddenly moved. Point there is a saying. Point quiet as a virgin, moving like a rabbit. Point this is the best interpretation of the spherical detector. There was no time to react. Point the antimatter collection device and the human detector blocking the spherical detector collided directly with it. Bang, 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 accompanied by a burst of sparks and countless broken parts. The dark grey spherical detector rushed straight towards the Gliese 555 star system. How fast? Seeing this scene, LV Yongchang had no time to think. His face flushed slightly, and he shouted loudly. A researcher quickly swiped the holographic projection in front of him, and the moment he saw the data, his face turned pale. Professor, 50% light speed. The researcher's lips trembled slightly, and he reported a number with difficulty. There was silence in the command center, leaving only the breathing and heartbeats of the crowd. 50% light speed. This is an extremely shocking number. You know, humans can only increase the fleet's maximum sailing speed to 50% light speed after mastering the antimatter engine. And this speed is only the starting speed of the other party's detector. What is this called? I've stepped into the engine, and you told me that you just shifted into first gear. Warning. The territory ahead belongs to human civilization. Please state your intentions immediately. Repeat. The territory ahead belongs to. The dead space is filled with electromagnetic waves. Warning. 10-minute countdown. As the electronic synthesized sound of 0 sounded in the command center, a digital countdown appeared right in front of everyone. Looking at the constantly jumping blood red numbers, LV Yongchang felt his heart tremble. According to the speed of the spherical detector, it will reach the synchronous orbit of dawn in 10 minutes, and before that, since all the warnings have no effect, then human civilization has only one option left. Attack. Attack. Now. LV Yongchang's face flushed, and his hands trembled slightly as he issued the attack order. The fleet military commander Zaozuji, who was sitting next to him, looked solemn and shouted in a deep voice, "Attention! All units, electromagnetic cannon salvo." The moment the order was issued, one by one, the Golden Crow battleships lined up in neat formations and raised the long gun barrels mounted on the side of the ship. Under Zero's control, each gun barrel began to make subtle adjustments. The path of the spherical detector is a straight line, and the speed is very stable. Therefore, it is extremely easy for Zero to calculate its trajectory point. But in order to ensure the hit rate of the electromagnetic cannon projectile, Zero still defined a larger attack range point. After completing the adjustment of the electromagnetic cannon trajectory, 1 round of salvo, 2 rounds of salvos, 3 rounds of salvos. In just a few seconds, more than 5,000 asteroid-class Golden Crow battleships poured more than 100,000 electromagnetic cannon projectiles into the target area. These projectiles are filled with a large amount of antimatter at the moment of contact. All of these antimatter will be poured onto the surface of the spherical detector. This is also the best solution that the Academy of Sciences has come up with after discussion during the period when the spherical detector is stationary. Strong interaction material, similar to neutron star matter. Its strength is too exaggerated, which can be seen from the images of it hitting the antimatter collection device and the human detector. At least, the current materials of mankind, even the strongest star gold carbonine armor, are like a fragile piece of paper in front of it, which will break with a poke point. But in any case, it still belongs to the category of matter. As long as it is matter, it will react with antimatter. Then the battle plan is very simple. Let the antimatter contact its surface point. Once the annihilation reaction occurs, its extremely hard shell will completely collapse. Chapter 535 Artificial Detonation. The tranquility of the Gliese 555 star system was completely broken. Hundreds of thousands of electromagnetic cannon pellets flew towards the target area at a very high speed. Under the shooting of high-precision cameras, this extremely powerful metal storm crossed the planets and flew towards the extraterrestrial visitor at a high speed. In the command center of Earth, LV Yongchang's Attention was not on the metal storm emitted by the human fleet. Pointy stared at the dark grey spherical detector in the holographic projection that was moving at 50% of the speed of light. Point on the side of the holographic projection, there was a bright red countdown. 5 minutes later, these electromagnetic cannon pellets loaded with a large amount of antimatter will contact the spherical detector. The contact position is exactly the edge area of the Gliese 555 star system. This is also the first line of defense established by human civilization. At this moment, LV Yongchang subconsciously clenched his fists, and there was only one sentence left in his mind. Don't change the route. Don't change the route. Due to the limitations of electromagnetic guns, once the spherical detector senses danger and changes its route in advance, the first line of human defense is equivalent to a decoration. For today's human civilization, this so-called war is a situation that is easy to attack, but difficult to defend. When the individual combat power is far inferior to that of the opponent, the human fleet can only be forced to huddle together for warmth. The detectors of advanced civilizations can launch attacks from all angles, but humans can only curl up near the Dawn Star for passive defense. With the maneuverability shown by the spherical detector, Liu Yongchang believes that if it deliberately evades, even if the human fleet empties all the existing electromagnetic gun reserves, it will not be able to touch the opponent's air. Under the gaze of everyone in the command center, the spherical detector that has not yet entered the Gliese 555 star system seems to have not sensed any danger and is still flying straight towards the Dawn Star. Seeing this scene, the solemn atmosphere in the command center gradually eased. A faint smile also appeared on the faces of a group of scientific researchers and military personnel. Professor, the detector doesn't seem to have detected our movements. Hebelin suddenly breathed a sigh of relief and said with a little ease, "Our plan is going to work, LV." Yongchang didn't say anything, but frowned as he watched the countdown in the holographic projection decaying. I always feel that something seems to be wrong. It's understandable. I just analyzed its behavior pattern. Mo Xiang's voice came from a distance and immediately attracted the attention of many people. How should I put it? Mo Xiang scratched his head with a strange look. If its waiting time outside the star system is to report information and receive instructions, its behavior pattern may be a bit like our weak artificial intelligence one, and its subjective initiative is too low. Speaking of this, Mo Xiang's expression moved slightly. He thought of the last words left by Hua. Perhaps it is true as Hua said, strong artificial intelligence, that is, Type 2 artificial intelligence, is a dangerous technology that is strictly prohibited. Mo Xiang nodded thoughtfully. This may be our chance. At least, the behavior of Type I artificial intelligence can be predicted and guided. LV Yongchang still didn't speak. He stared at the countdown in the holographic projection, and the feeling of uneasiness in his heart became stronger. Is this the arrogance of a high-level civilization? Hebelin whispered softly. Only one probe equipped with Type I artificial intelligence was sent. LV Yongchang trembled slightly. Hebelin's words woke him up. The arrogance unique to high-level civilizations. Sending a probe alone is not the real arrogance. He seemed to realize something, and his breathing suddenly became rapid. No, that's not right. LV Yongchang looked at the countdown that was about to return to zero with his eyes wide open. Don't forget, even a warship controlled by you will have corresponding evasive actions when it encounters an attack. It's not that it didn't notice it. It thinks that our attack can't hurt it. This is a real arrogance. No matter what humans do, it doesn't even bother to change the route. The moment the voice fell, the countdown had already returned to zero. In the dead interstellar space, a spherical detector with an extremely smooth surface and dark grey body crashed into the boundary of the Gliese 555 star system at 50% of the speed of light. The stellar wind from Gliese 555 hit the surface of the detector. Even though the relative speed of these particles and the detector has exceeded 50% of the speed of light, it still cannot shake the dense strong interaction force shell on the surface of the detector. In front of the spherical detector, a dense metal storm is rushing towards it with great momentum. The distance between the two is rapidly decreasing. Green scanning beam is emitted from its surface, directly at the oncoming electromagnetic cannon projectile. Warning. a large amount of antimatter is detected. Gravitational barrier. Starting, almost at the same time, an electromagnetic cannon projectile hit the spherical detector fiercely. The expected collision did not occur at the moment when the electromagnetic cannon projectile was about to touch the spherical detector. A barrier invisible to the naked eye appeared in front of it. In just a moment, the immense gravity directly pressed it into a discus. The antimatter inside the projectile naturally leaked out and reacted with the surrounding projectiles to annihilate. Boom. At that moment, the flames of the explosion illuminated the dark space around point, but it was only for a moment. High energy gamma rays flew out at a speed close to the speed of light, bombarding the surroundings indiscriminately. This was the second round of attack by the electromagnetic cannon projectiles loaded with antimatter. Normally, these high-energy gamma rays close to the speed of light will cause irreversible damage to the organisms in the starship. But there was only a detector in front of him. What's more, under the effect of the gravitational barrier, even high-energy gamma rays were forced to turn in a direction and escape around the spherical detector. Then, the second, the third, endless electromagnetic cannon projectiles rushed towards the spherical detector recklessly, trying to block it outside the Gliese 555 star system. But it was useless. Under the continuous explosions, the dark gray spherical detector still moved at a constant speed of 50% of the speed of light, and its target was still pointing directly at the Dawn Star. Manual detonation. Zaozij's steady voice sounded in the command center. Detonate all electromagnetic cannon projectiles. As soon as the words fell, a brilliant fire suddenly appeared in the holographic projection. A few seconds later, the intensity of high-energy gamma rays in the data sent back by the detector instantly exploded. Chapter 536. The worst situation. Inside the command center of Earth. How is it? Fang Zhu asked in a low voice with difficulty. Is it effective? Before LV Yongchang could reply, the picture from the detector in the holographic projection had already told him the answer, accompanied by extremely strong gamma rays and the flames of the explosion. A dark gray spherical detector appeared in the projection again. After experiencing such a powerful impact and explosion, the surface of the spherical detector is still extremely smooth. Under the detection of the high precision detector, it still maintains an extremely standard spherical shape. No effect. Fang Zhu subconsciously raised his hand and rubbed his eyes. For a moment, he couldn't believe what he saw with his own eyes. No. LV Yongchang's lips were dry and his face was a little pale as he stared at the picture in the holographic projection. It works. As he said that, LV Yongchang quickly raised his hand and operated on the small holographic projection in front of him. At the same time, a slightly blurred picture appeared on the huge holographic projection. Did you see it? Gravitational lens effect. Gravitational lens effect visible to the naked eye. It has activated its gravitational shield. LV Yongchang quickly called up the footage shot a few minutes ago. Look, when it hit the antimatter collection device and the detector, it did not activate its gravitational shield. This means that, as we speculated, it is afraid of antimatter attacks. But we can't break its gravitational shield. Fang Zhu added in a faint tone. LV Yongchang, seeing the distance between the spherical detector and the Dawn Star getting closer and closer, LV Yongchang gritted his teeth and made a decision. Start the dimensional strike ship. The dimensional strike ship, with the help of the two-dimensional fragments provided by painting, can carry out dimensionality reduction strikes on the target. It is extremely powerful, and its technological content far exceeds the weapon systems mastered by human civilization today. Therefore, when the spherical detector was stagnant, Tao Yuda proposed a plan to use two-dimensional fragments to carry out the attack. But this proposal was strongly opposed by LV Yongchang. The reason for the opposition is also very simple. The sweeper civilization is the mortal enemy of the pastoral civilization. At that time, who are hid in an inconspicuous star to avoid the pursuit of the sweeper civilization. Now, human civilization uses two-dimensional fragments in front of the sweeper probe. What is this? Do you think the other party is not paying enough attention to you? If the other party's warships are attracted, it will be really barbecue. What's more, not to mention the reaction of the sweeper civilization. Whether the two-dimensional fragments can hit the other party is still an unknown. Having said that, if the previous defense measures do not work, humans can only pin their hopes on this double-edged sword point. Therefore, Yongchang arranged it to the last line of defense, the so-called killer, as for the previous defense measures, with the sweeper probe showing the super-standard gravity shield. Technology. Everything became a bubble. Time passed little by little. The distance between the spherical probe and the Dawn Star is getting closer and closer under Zero's control. A small starship with a length of only 100 meters, with the help of the backward Hall propulsion device, swayed away from the fleet and slowly drove towards the direction of the spherical detector. The spherical detector still maintained its original path, moving at a constant speed against the strong gravitational barrier. 2-minute contact countdown. The electronic synthesized sound sounded in the command center of the Earth point. Yongchang's face became solemn, and he gave an order in a deep voice: launch the two-dimensional fragment. After the order was issued, Zero's instructions were quickly transmitted to the central computer of the dimensional strike ship with the help of a long-distance communication device. The restraint device control program was activated. Under the action of a series of mechanisms unknown to humans, a two-dimensional fragment like a piece of paper quickly passed through the thick gun barrel and shot directly at the spherical detector. In the distance. This process was very calm. There was no fire, no explosion. It was like throwing a trivial piece of paper, but everyone's attention was attracted by this piece of paper. It is the most powerful weapon currently available to humans. In the picture taken by the camera, the paper was flying quietly in the universe. Without the wrapping of dark matter, its surface was already wrinkled. Warning: target lost. Warning: target lost. A shrill alarm sounded in the command center, and the blood-red warning sign flashed wildly in front of everyone's eyes. Not far from the Dawn Star, the Type I artificial intelligence and the spherical detector maintained the original route and speed according to the preset program, slowly approaching the destination point. But when the two-dimensional fragment appeared, everything changed. A rapid alarm sounded in the spherical detector. Warning: dimensional fluctuations detected. Scanning in progress. Scanning completed. Mission target detected. A stream of report information was sent to the central black hole area of the Milky Way. Obviously, it still did not wait for the order from Sweeper 9527. So, it once again started its own recovery mission according to the preset program. Start executing the two-dimensional fragment recovery mission. The gravitational field around the spherical detector fluctuated rapidly. The next moment, it disappeared from the human camera. Curvature. Navigation. This familiar scene directly sounded the alarm in Yongchang's mind. He looked extremely solemn, and without any hesitation, he said directly: Zero, search the area around Dawn Star immediately. Received. The moment the electronic synthesized sound sounded, a series of images of the area around Dawn Star flashed across the huge holographic projection in front of him. 10 seconds later, the flashing images and the huge holographic projection stopped. Fuck. LV. Yongchang, who saw the picture clearly, suddenly choked and uttered a swear word uncontrollably. What is it going to do? In the picture, the spherical detector appeared next to the two-dimensional fragment, maintaining the same flying speed as it. Then, under the gaze of everyone, the gravitational lens effect diffused around the spherical detector slowly disappeared. The next moment, a crack appeared on the surface of the natural detector. A beam of azure light shone through the gap, and shone directly on the two-dimensional fragment. Warning: extremely high intensity gravitational fluctuations detected, accompanied by Zero's electronically synthesized warning sound. The two-dimensional fragment, like a crumpled piece of paper, was slowly sucked into the spherical detector. This scene directly tore apart everyone's psychological defenses. The supermetal weapon that held all the hopes of mankind was actually confiscated by the other party. Yongchang looked at the scene in front of him with a sullen face, and closed his eyes in pain. Sure enough, the worst situation occurred. Chapter 537 Gaoyang and -039 S mouth. It stopped. A shout full of surprise and surprise sounded from a corner of the command center. After hearing this, Yongchang, who was still a little depressed, suddenly perked up and quickly raised his head to look at the holographic projection point after the spherical detector captured the two-dimensional debris. It stopped in place in the images returned by the camera. The gravitational lens effect appears again around the spherical detector obviously. After capturing the two-dimensional debris, the spherical detector once again activated the extremely strong gravitational shield point. This scene also reversely verified the guesses of Yongchang and others when they studied two-dimensional fragments before. Two-dimensional fragments are affected by gravity, but extremely strong gravity is needed to have a large enough impact on them. This is why the gravity shield of the Rathor civilization's flagship is ineffective in front of two-dimensional debris. The gravity shield it creates is too weak, so the purpose of this detector is two-dimensional fragments. Gao Yang, who was sitting near Zhao Ziji, raised his eyebrows, a hint of excitement flashing in his eyes. If that were the case, this crisis might have. Zhao Ziji's expression suddenly changed. He didn't have time to think about it, so he shouted loudly, "Gao Yang, shut up, it's past." Obviously, it was too late. Gao Yang still said the last half of the sentence, "It's over." Zhao Ziji slumped in his chair with a dejected expression. "Professor, think of countermeasures now. I guess the mission of this detector is not that simple. Even Yongchang has never seen such a scene. He was stunned and cast a doubtful look at Zhao Ziji. "What's going on? I didn't see you so frustrated when the antimatter electromagnetic gun failed just now." Zhao Ziji reached out and rubbed his stiff cheeks, glared at Gao Yang fiercely and sighed. "Professor, you may not know the power of Gao Yang's mouth." After the words fell, there was a burst of slight laughter in the command center. The originally tense atmosphere was diluted a bit. Yongchang turned his head and glanced around. Those who laughed were mostly military personnel. He raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise, "How do you say that?" "His bad mouth." Zhao Ziji once again glared at Gao Yang, who was scratching his head and laughing, and shook his head helplessly. "I don't know what to say. It's quite evil anyway. You get what you say, just like a causal weapon." "That's not true." Yongchang glanced at Gao Yang with a strange look, then reached out and patted Zhao Ziji on the shoulder. "Humanity has entered the 4th level of civilization. You have to believe in science." Zhao Ziji nodded feebly. "I hope." Facing the strange looks from Yongchang and the scientific researchers, Gao Yang lowered his head with some guilt and made a gesture of shutting up. Yongchang laughed dumbly, shook his head, and withdrew his gaze. "He is a staunch materialist, and such mysterious remarks cannot affect him." Although he said this, he still turned his attention to the scientific researchers on the side. "Commander Zhao is right. Let's take this opportunity to discuss the solution as soon as possible. You can't pin your hopes of survival on the other person, right, Professor?" Mo. Ziyang was the first to speak. "I have an idea, say it." Yongchang nodded. Mo Ziyang subconsciously glanced at the spherical detector that remained stationary in the holographic projection, organized some words, and said, "Professor, based on my observations just now, the core program controlling this detector should be a type I artificial intelligence, just like our weak artificial intelligence 1, due to its low level of intelligence. Without artificial or strong artificial intelligence intervention, it can easily receive external images and make wrong judgments. Simply put, it can easily be misled by outside information." Speaking of this, Mo Ziyang paused slightly and observed the reactions of the people around him. Seeing no one objected, he continued, "Therefore, we can use this characteristic to lay a trap for it." With that said, he reached out to unlock the electromagnetic absorption switch on his seat and stood up under the gaze of everyone. Mo Ziyang stretched his hand across the air and a new holographic projection appeared. He quickly sketched something on the projection in front of him. After a few minutes following Mo Ziyang's gesture, under Zero's control, the holographic projection quickly enlarged. First of all, its mission target is two-dimensional fragments, so we can use the two-dimensional fragments to make a fuss. Secondly, when it captures two-dimensional debris, it will briefly close its gravitational shield and use gravity to pull and capture the two-dimensional debris, which gives us the opportunity to carry out an attack. However, there is a problem. Even type by artificial intelligence has the function of self-learning and self-improvement. Speaking of this, Yang's expression became more solemn. According to my guess, the last time it stopped taking action, it should have been reporting the situation to its superiors. This so-called superior may be a relevant person in the sweeper civilization. Or it may be a more advanced artificial intelligence. Of course, I prefer to report information to the person in charge. Yang shrugged and added, after all, artificial intelligence will not show such arrogance. He took a deep breath and said again, if my judgment is correct, it won't take long for this detector to start moving again, because of the experience of stopping last time. This time, its reaction speed will be greatly increased. Everyone, if the above scene comes true, it means we only have one chance. Even type by artificial intelligence can't fall into the same trap. LV. Yongchang nodded thoughtfully. Then the next step is the problem of attack intensity. It's a big problem to solve this detector in one go. LV. Yongchang frowned, staring at the holographic projection in front of him, and his right knuckles unconsciously tapped the armrest of the seat point in the holographic projection. The weapons and equipment that human civilization now possesses slowly emerged. Point electromagnetic cannon. Cross it out. Point. Even if it is an electromagnetic cannon with antimatter inside, it is difficult to destroy this small detector in one shot. Point plasma weapon. This is even more impossible. Point at present, humans want to destroy this detector made of strong interaction force material in one shot. In addition to two-dimensional fragments, there are only antimatter weapons left. Point the two-dimensional fragments, the ultimate killer, have been ruled out. Point the only thing left is the antimatter weapons. LV Yongchang shook his head and was about to cross out a series of plasma weapons. Suddenly, his finger stopped in the air. LV Yongchang looked at the picture in the holographic projection and fell into deep thought. Point a crazy plan slowly emerged in his mind. Chapter 538 Antimatter Flood. LV Yongchang quickly untied the electromagnetic absorption device, stood up from his seat, and briefly introduced this crazy plan to everyone in the command center. Professor, the calculation results show that the success rate of this plan has reached 60%. At the same time, an electronic synthesized sound sounded in the command center. A gleam of light flashed in LV Yongchang's eyes. A 60% success rate is already a very exaggerated number. After all, their opponent is a detector from an 8th level civilization. Start executing. LV Yongchang gave the order without hesitation. The moment the voice fell, all the starships around the Dawn Star began to move. Point the Golden Crow. Battleships continued to disperse to make room for the battery ram and the engineering ship. Point and most of the dimensional strike ships also dispersed and hid in the scattered fleet. Point only 5 dimensional strike ships were left, and with the help of hall thrusters, they slowly flew towards the center of the trap area. Half an hour later, looking at the trap that had been basically set up, LV Yongchang couldn't help but fall into silence. So, the biggest question now is, when can this detector start moving? As he said this, LV Yongchang looked at Zhao Ziji beside him with a strange look on his face. Point and Zhao Ziji cast his eyes on Gao Yang beside him. Point as for Gao Yang, his eyes were full of bitterness, and he squeezed out a smile on his face. Point this, how could he know such a thing? If he had known that such a situation would happen, he would have choked to death and not said anything. Fortunately, LV Yongchang and others did not take what Zhao Ziji said before seriously. After a short joke, everyone retracted their gazes and focused on the holographic projection in front of them. Suddenly, something strange happened. The spherical detector went from a static state again and directly entered a high-speed flight state of 50% of the speed of light. A few seconds later, the spherical detector disappeared from the camera screen. LV Yongchang's heart sank slightly. It entered the curvature navigation state again. I wonder what its goal is this time. While thinking, LV Yongchang unconsciously glanced at Gao Yang in the distance. Just met Gao Yang's eyes. Gao Yang was sweating profusely at this time. His lips were slightly pale, and he looked at Lu Yongchang and Zhao Ziji with an apologetic face apostrophe. It's just a coincidence. What kind of causal weapon? I didn't expect Zhao Ziji to have such a big imagination. Or thought flashed through Lu Yongchang's mind. Thinking of this, He laughed dumbly, gave Gao Yang a reassuring look, and then turned his attention to the giant holographic projection in front of him again. Point like last time, Zero used a large number of detectors scattered around the fleet to quickly screen the position of the spherical detector. After a few seconds the picture paused. Point the spherical detector quietly hovered in front of the dimensional strike ship that completed the attack mission. The spherical detector changed its angle and used the detector in it to carefully screen the fleet around Dawnstar. Analysis completed. Mission target updated. Target screening. Target locked. 47 dimensional strike ships were clearly marked. Route planning in progress. Route planning completed. Under the planning of Type I artificial intelligence, the first stop of the recovery mission is naturally the 5-dimensional strike ships. Gathered together, under the gaze of the crowd, the spherical detector stayed in front of the dimensional strike ship for only a few seconds. Then turned an angle and rushed straight to the trap area. Seeing this scene, the nervous look on Mo Xiang's face slowly dissipated, replaced by a relieved smile. Sure enough, his judgment was correct. This detector is completely controlled by Type I artificial intelligence. The plan begins. LV. Yongchang's voice came from a distance. Battery ram releases the drone group under Zero's control. Hundreds of battering rams opened the side hatches at the same time. Countless drones equipped with magnetic field generation units filed out of the hatches without any hesitation. They quickly flew to the front of the battery ram fleet, building an invisible gun barrel that continued to extend forward. The length of the barrel of a single battering ram is only 100 kilometers. With the joint construction of hundreds of battering rams, the length of this barrel can even approach the circumference of Guangwei. As the spherical probe flew towards the 5-dimensional strike ships as bait, the barrel quickly took shape. The outer area of the trap. A large number of engineering ships, countless robots, and Zero's terrifying computing power quickly completed the transformation task assigned by Liu Yongchang. At this moment, a total of 150 battering rams were simply assembled into a large turret. The engineering ship that served as the muzzle was even more roughly dismantled of all unnecessary devices, leaving only a few huge pipes. This is the channel of antimatter, not bad. The modified battering ram does not launch plasma weapons, but antimatter to be precise. It is anti-electron. When the spherical detector closes the gravitational shield and captures the two-dimensional fragments, the giant turret composed of 150 battery rams will spew out a huge amount of anti-electrons under the acceleration of the 15,000 kilometer long barrel. These anti-electrons will be accelerated to near the speed of light. And then, the antimatter torrent close to the speed of light will shoot directly at the spherical detector. This is the strongest attack that humans can currently launch, except for the two-dimensional fragments. It is also the only one. After this shot is fired, 150 battery rams will be scrapped due to overload. The flight speed of the spherical detector instantly dropped to 0. It stopped in front of 5-dimensional strike ships. Launch two-dimensional fragments. Although he knew it would not work, in order to confuse the Type I artificial intelligence that controls the spherical detector and to try his luck at success, Liu Yongchang still gave the order to attack. 5 two-dimensional fragments that looked like pieces of paper flew out of the dimensional strike ship and rushed straight towards the spherical detector in front. The next moment, accompanied by a burst of extremely powerful gravitational fluctuations, the 5 two-dimensional fragments obediently stopped in front of the detector. LV Yongchang looked at the constantly fluctuating gravitational data in the holographic projection, and his eyes widened a little. Finally, the gravitational lens effect began to gradually weaken. Battering ram, LV Yongchang and Zhao Ziji shouted in unison, "Fire!" Chapter 539 Paper Starry Sky. The moment the voice fell, the turret built by 150 battery rams began to operate. At the same time, the 15,000 kilometer long drone array also started the magnetic field production unit. In the Earth Optical Quantum Supercomputing Center, Zero's computing load quickly soared from 50% to 90%. Under Zero's precise control, a 15,000 kilometer long magnetic field acceleration pipeline slowly took shape in the universe. It's like a straight ending of light satellites However, whether it is the energy efficiency conversion ratio or the speed of the accelerated particles, this section of the magnetic field acceleration pipeline built by drones is not as good as the Ring of Light satellite's particle accelerator. But if you want to achieve the attack on the spherical detector, this 15,000 kilometer drone barrel is enough. Countless anti-electrons quickly flowed out of the gun muzzle through the high purity vacuum magnetic field pipeline and came to this invisible gun barrel point in the vacuum. Matter is very sparse. It is precisely because of this that these antimatter did not undergo much annihilation reaction under the constraints of the surrounding magnetic field. Of course, sparse does not mean no. As the first batch of anti-electrons flew faster and faster, there were always some lucky ones who collided with some interstellar dust and various particles in the vacuum. Annihilation reaction followed. Under the observation of the detection equipment, strong gamma rays kept flashing in the barrel composed of magnetic fields. This can be used to determine the specific location of the antimatter torrent. In less than a second, under the acceleration of the high intensity magnetic field, this antimatter torrent rushed out of the muzzle. It crossed the long starry sky and rushed straight to the spherical detector that was capturing two-dimensional fragments. At this moment, the Type I artificial intelligence and the spherical detector also found the problem point, but facing the attack close to the speed of light, it did not have time to cancel the recycling program. Almost at the same time it found the problem, the antimatter torrent composed of anti-electrons slammed hard on the surface of the spherical detector, without the protection of the gravitational shield. Even the shell constructed of strong interaction force materials cannot escape the iron law that annihilation occurs when positive and antimatter come into contact. Annihilation happened. Endless gamma rays burst out near the human fleet. Warning. Warning. Under attack from antimatter. The Type I artificial intelligence and the spherical detector is still diligently sending mission reports to the center of the Milky Way. Warning. External armor is damaged. The recovery program has been successfully stopped, and the gravitational shield is being activated. The startup failed, and the shield generation device has been damaged. The next moment, another strong light burst out. The two-dimensional fragments that lost their gravitational restraint finally exploded under the energy impact of the annihilation of positive and antimatter. 5 two-dimensional fragments. No, including the one recovered by the spherical detector. A full 6 two-dimensional fragments exploded at the same time. Warning. Under attack from dimension. Mission failed. Mission failed. The report from the spherical detector finally stopped. And humans have truly witnessed the power of two-dimensional fragments. Fuck. LV. Yongchang looked at the two-dimensional dim starry sky in the holographic projection and swallowed hard. In the center of the paper starry sky, there is an unfinished explosion. This is an extremely magical and magnificent picture. Just like a slow motion video, the antimatter torrent and the spherical detector come into contact with each other and produce an extremely violent and gorgeous annihilation reaction. Perhaps because the speed of light in the two-dimensional world is lower. In LV Yongchang's view, every beam of light produced by the explosion in the paper starry sky is clearly visible, even with the help of a high-precision camera. LV Yongchang can even take the opportunity to peek into the internal structure of the spherical detector. The two-dimensional world has no secrets for the three-dimensional world. Just like a painting. You can easily see every detail in the painting. Although there is no order from LV Yongchang, the detectors arranged around are still constantly and automatically collecting various data generated in this process. These data may not be of any use to the current human civilization, but in the future, when humans want to contact the mysteries of the dimension, these data will be the best mentors. LV Yongchang subconsciously cast his eyes on the area of the spherical detector, although part of the area was destroyed by the antimatter torrent. He can still take this opportunity to view its core area. A ball of light. A complex blue light floats quietly in the center of the scroll. In the paper starry sky, these lights are entangled with each other in extremely complex forms, but they do not interfere with each other and fly along the prescribed route. Thin strands of light slowly extend to the surrounding instruments, as if controlling them to perform corresponding operations. It is not difficult for humans To make the light fly along a prescribed path, optical fiber can do this, but the picture in front of us is obviously not achieved with the help of media such as optical fiber optical computer. A trace of surprise flashed in Yongchang's eyes. Is this the computer technology mastered by the 8th level civilization? The next moment the strong light dissipated, and the paper starry sky fell apart like broken glass. The two-dimensional starry sky slowly returned to its original appearance. However, in this starry sky, there is no high-speed antimatter torrent, nor the spherical detector of the sweeper civilization. Only a pot of cold, almost dead particle soup remains. All the energy is absorbed by the process of dimensional upgrading of the two-dimensional starry sky. At this moment, the piercing alarm sound around attracted Yongchang's attention. He suddenly came to his senses and turned his head to look at the holographic projection beside him. Even at this moment, there was still some shock in the depths of his eyes. High intensity gamma ray burst. When he saw the warning, Yongchang breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, with the reminder of the technology tree, he installed radiation protection layers on all starships in advance. When he transformed the starship, this level of gamma ray burst can be resisted in theory. He calmed down, reached out to untie the electromagnetic absorption device, and stood up from his seat. With his back to the dead starry sky, he opened his hands. Everyone, we succeeded. We survived this crisis. Humanity, glory forever. After the words fell, warm applause and cheers rang out in the command center and in every Golden Crow battleship. A few dozen seconds later, as Yongchang pressed his hands in the air, the command center quickly quieted down. Everyone, we can't be too happy too early. Although the detector of the sweeper civilization was destroyed by us, we also exposed our coordinates and the two-dimensional fragments in our hands. Now, please, enter the medical cabin for physical examination and repair work. Although the power of this gamma ray burst did not exceed the resistance limit of the radiation protection layer, it is better to check it for safety. Finally, Yongchang glared at Gao Yang, who was shrinking in the corner, and a smile appeared on his face. Gao Yang, be careful in the future, and don't talk nonsense. A burst of laughter rang out from every corner of the command center. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540, Accidental. A few minutes ago. At the moment when 6 two-dimensional fragments exploded at the same time. Inside the artificial planet in the black hole area at the center of the Milky Way, a piercing alarm sounded instantly. What's going on? Sweeper 9527 changed his previous lazy appearance, straightened up and looked at the miniature light screen that was constantly sounding the alarm. As its tentacles moved, the miniature light screen quickly enlarged until the information was clearly presented to everyone. Detector number 912,133,165 was damaged. Sweeper 9527 was stunned. As the working indicator light of the memory storage device outside the thinking organ flashed rapidly, the memory slowly emerged in his mind. This is the detector sent to recover the two-dimensional fragments. Yes, sir. The subordinate's voice was full of tension. This task was given to him by Sweeper 9527. If the task failed, as the person in charge, it would naturally be punished accordingly. If nothing else, at least its bonus should be gone. What exactly happened? Sweeper 9527's eyes flashed with doubt, and he said in a deep voice, a mere low-level civilization can never destroy our detector. The subordinate did not respond immediately, and its tentacles quickly moved back and forth on the light screen in front of him. As he moved, a large amount of data flashed rapidly on the light screen. Suddenly, the subordinate's movement stopped. Sir, there was a little accident. HMM. Sweeper 9527 spoke in a slightly higher tone. Did the pastoral school do something? Painting no death. While speaking, he used his tentacles to open a light screen, ready to report this abnormal situation to the mother civilization. No, the subordinate denied repeatedly. It's the problem of that human civilization. They are not low-level civilizations. According to the mission record sent back by the detector, human civilization has mastered the application technology of antimatter, and they have escaped the scope of low-level civilizations. Hearing this, Sweeper 9527 showed a look of surprise on his face. Having mastered antimatter, then there is indeed a chance to damage that low intelligence detector. It's just the speed of development of this human civilization seems a bit abnormal. As he spoke, Sweeper 9527 narrowed his eyes, stretched out his tentacles to pull the light screen in front of his subordinates to his front, and carefully checked the task records. HMM, two-dimensional, fragments, dimensionality reduction attack. Seeing these key task records, Sweeper 9527 was a little impatient. Sure enough, painting has done something to human civilization. At this moment, in the eyes of Sweeper 9527, the reason why human civilization can develop so rapidly in a short period of time is that painting is guiding behind it. As for the wide area Tachan broadcast received some time ago, just kidding. Who in a serious civilization believes this thing? Can those who believe this thing be serious civilizations? What exactly does it want to do? As he spoke, Sweeper 9527 thought quickly. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration came to his mind. Could it be the Pastoral clan wants to take this opportunity to infiltrate us? The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Sweeper 9527 raised his tentacles and entered information into the light screen beside him. After a short wait, Sweeper 9527 looked at the reply from the mother civilization on the light screen. His eyes flashed, and he gave an order. Send 3 type warships to the 3TCS-0026B4, Gliese 555, star system. 3 type warships? The subordinate was slightly surprised. Those are our main battleships. They are now performing defense tasks near the Galaxy Bridge. Is it necessary? Sweeper 9527 has narrowed his eyes into a slit. Of course it is necessary. This is an order directly issued by the mother civilization. In one sentence, the concerns of everyone in the planetary fortress were directly dispelled, just as the subordinate turned around and began to relay the order. Sweeper 9527 spoke again. Wait, Alpha battleship, even if the wormhole jump technology is used, it will take a certain amount of time to reach the target star system. Not appropriate. Are there any of our affiliated civilizations in that area? Yes. The subordinate quickly checked and said in an affirmative tone. Bosa civilization, just promoted to level 5 civilization, and has initially mastered the grand unified theory. Let them go too. Sweeper 9527 directly issued an order. Delay the time of human civilization as much as possible. The next day point, because most of the gamma ray bursts caused by the antimatter torrent were sucked into the two-dimensional starry sky, the radiation protection layer on the surface of a human starship almost perfectly blocked this artificial small gamma ray burst point. This also brought some inspiration to Professor Wilson, who was studying new weapons. The new architecture of the gamma ray beam cannon was born with the rapid annihilation reaction of anti-electrons and positrons. The gamma ray beam cannon can briefly release extremely strong high-energy gamma rays. This has an extremely huge lethality to organisms, at least to carbon-based organisms. When the enemy starship does not have a strong enough radiation protection layer, the life forms inside the enemy ship directly hit by the gamma ray cluster cannon will die in just a few minutes. However, the successful development of the new weapon did not attract LV Yongchang's attention, nor did it even cause discussion among scientific researchers. The reason, of course, was because of the Sweeper civilization detector. Although humans have solved the detector, they have also paid an extremely painful price. Not only did they lose the only 150 battering rams, but the number of two-dimensional fragments was also reduced to 41. In addition to weapons and equipment, the biggest loss should be in energy. The antimatter torrent consumed a large amount of human antimatter reserves. This has caused extremely bad effects on our next plan. LV Yongchang sat in the Earth command center and said helplessly, fortunately, the Dyson cloud has not been completely recovered. We only need to wait for a while, and the antimatter reserves will be able to increase significantly. PS. Academicians of the Academy of Sciences, move your fingers and send a gift for love. CAC Chapter 541 Wormhole. In addition, the remanufacturing of the battering ram and the maintenance of various starships must also be put on the agenda. According to Zero estimates, we need to wait at least 5 years before we can carry out the original sailing plan. After hearing this, everyone in the command center frowned. Professor, 5 years, isn't it too long? Fang Zhu took the lead in speaking out the thoughts of many scientific researchers. Lu Yongchang shook his head and said nothing. An anxious look flashed in Fang Zhu's eyes. The sweeper civilization and the pastoral civilization are all paying attention to us now. Let's not talk about the pastoral civilization, just the sweeper civilization. If it loses a detector, it is very likely to send a real warship to us. I suggest you set off immediately. Currently, our energy reserves are enough to support the first phase of interstellar navigation, weapons, and equipment, and energy replenishment. These can all wait until we reach the target star system. Lu Yongchang sighed and said softly, "Of course I know what you said. However, the 5-year repair time can no longer be reduced. The target star system is 42.3 light years away. Let's not talk about whether we will encounter a star-stealing civilization similar to the Rathor civilization during this 42.3 light year journey. Let's just talk about the target star system. We don't know anything about it. We don't even know if there is civilization over there. If you rush there without sufficient preparation, the human fleet will most likely face destruction." Fang Zhu fell into silence. Not only Fang Zhu, but all the scientific researchers present fell silent. It can be said that what mankind is currently facing is a dilemma. On the one hand, if you want to start an ultra long distance interstellar voyage, you need a certain amount of time to prepare. On the other hand, the arrival of the sweeper civilization detector proves that higher civilization has noticed human civilization, and they must get out of this place of right and wrong as soon as possible. After waiting for a while, seeing that there was no objection, Lu Yongchang immediately finalized the plan. In order to save as much computing power as possible, everyone needs to enter hibernation immediately. 5 years later, Zero will control the fleet heading to the target star system. After speaking, Lu Yongchang directly unlocked the electromagnetic absorption device on the seat, stood up and walked towards the command center door. Start executing the plan immediately. We don't have time to waste time. Triangulum. Galaxy bridge. A shadow appears across the galaxy's bridge of extremely thin neutral hydrogen atoms. Then there was an extremely obscure and hidden wave that spread to the distance. See, hurry up. A few seconds later, a similar wave came from a distance. You make it easy. You are a fourth dimensional creature. Can I outrun you? Don't. You know you can take me for a ride. Along with the extremely heavy fluctuations of grievance, a thin line with no width or height, like an infinite extension and no end, floated slowly from a distance. The beginning and end of the thin line gradually disappeared into the dark universe. Faced with the complaints from his companions, the shadow wavered slightly and sent another message. There may be detectors from the sweeper civilization in the Triangulum galaxy. It is not convenient for me to open the wormhole. C responded angrily. Yes, you are right. Then we can always open the wormhole now, right? If we keep stalling, by the time we get to the Milky Way, it won't be our fault. The shadow didn't respond, just stayed there quietly. I noticed the fluctuation of the painting. The shadow suddenly conveyed a message. Painting? C was slightly startled and quickly responded. Isn't he dead? Are you feeling wrong? As a one-dimensional creature, Silk didn't feel anything strange. This is also normal among dimensional creatures. Even though Silk has been promoted to the 8th level of civilization, its perception ability is still the worst. The shadow said nothing. After waiting for a long time, it sent another message. No, it's not painting. It's a two-dimensional phenomenon that goes beyond the normal scope. Occurred at the coordinate point given by painting. What do you mean? C quickly asked. Hua is still alive. Again. There are some fluctuations in the shadow surface. Probably. Not. Maybe. The sweepers discovered the low-level civilization. Paint. Mentioned. Upon hearing this, C's tone suddenly became more urgent. Then what are you waiting for? If you keep stalling, be careful of membrane causing trouble for us. The shadow made no response, but its movements expressed its attitude. Several overlapping and constantly twisting spherical structures appeared in the originally calm three-dimensional space. This extremely complex structure far exceeds the limits of current human imagination. It has no entity, just like a gray shadow, constantly twisting in the universe. C was not surprised at all by the scene in front of her. It knows that this is the projection of a four-dimensional creature. Time in a three-dimensional space. Just like the paperman can never understand and imagine the three-dimensional world we live in, humans living in the three-dimensional world cannot imagine what the four-dimensional space looks like. We can only see its projection, but cannot imagine its original appearance. Unless upgrade yourself to the fourth dimension and enter the four-dimensional space. Only in this way can humans try to understand the information of the four-dimensional world. With the continuous distortion of the spherical structure, a standard sphere slowly appeared in the universe. There are dots of starlight scattered on the surface of the sphere. These starlights are constantly twisted with the movement of the sphere, forming a colorful and thin light band. What is amazing is that if someone restores and compares these starlights in all directions, a huge problem will be found. These starlights are not observable from the current position. If the observation range is wider, it can be found that the source of these starlights is the Andromeda galaxy, 800,000 light years away. Faced with such a wonderful scene, both Silk and Time seem extremely calm. Nothing else, only familiarity. Silk, hurry up, let's go to the Andromeda galaxy first, replenish energy, and then go to the Milky Way. With a burst of obscure fluctuations, the constantly twisted spherical structure instantly disappeared from the spot. As for the thin line with only length attribute, it also entered the standard sphere in the next moment. The sphere dissipated instantly. The starlight it brought also dissipated in the dark universe. The galaxy bridge returned to peace again. After an unknown amount of time, a spherical detector appeared on the galaxy bridge. As the azure light flashed, messages were sent to the Andromeda galaxy. Chapter 542. Both a civilization. Proxima B. In an office deep inside the parliament in the central city on the surface. This is probably the situation. Sorry, you have to go on your own. The person in charge of the sociology department of the Human Fleet Academy of Sciences said with guilt. I'm sorry that we didn't help much. A faint background voice came. The hibernation program is about to begin. Please. Sorry. The head of the sociology department apologized again. The next moment, the video communication in the holographic projection was cut off. The last picture was a row of neatly arranged hibernation capsules. There was no light in the office. Only the faint light of the holographic projection illuminated the surrounding objects. The person sitting behind the desk pursed his lips and silently looked at the holographic projection in front of him. The holographic projection showed the 5 big words. Communication has been interrupted. The figure behind the desk sighed very heavily, thinking, we have to rely on ourselves from now on. Another voice sounded from the corner of the office. It was also a very heavy sigh. Yes, we have to rely on ourselves. I'm afraid the fleet can't even protect itself. The figure behind the desk didn't say anything, just waved his hand gently. The next second, the light shone brightly. The office was as bright as day, and the original darkness was instantly dispelled by the cold-toned lights. The pale light reflected the scene in the office. Renfeng, Zhang Zhenking. The 2 current leaders of Proxima human civilization. Because no one is willing to participate in the election of the president of the parliament, and no one stands out in the Academy of Sciences, the 2 can only continue to take on the important task of revitalizing Proxima human civilization. It's just, this important task is really too difficult. Even if the 2 have undergone an enhanced version of life extension transformation. But under the high intensity work, pressure under the force, the aging speed of the 2 people obviously exceeded the normal level. At this moment, Renfeng and Zhang Zhenking already had white hair and wrinkles on their faces. The atmosphere in the office was extremely solemn. Just now, The Human Fleet Science Academy had the latest communication with them. In the communication, they learned about the current situation of the fleet. When they knew that the human fleet was targeted by the 8th level sweeper civilization, both of them showed extremely deep worry in their eyes when they heard that the fleet was about to start the hibernation program and leave Gliese 555 in 5 years, and was forced to flee to a more distant star system to seek a way out. They both fell silent. Humanity is too difficult. Zhang Zhenqing pursed his lips and sighed hard. Ren Feng did not speak, but just sat quietly in the chair, his eyelids drooping slightly, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Suddenly, Zhenqing, how much hope do you think we still have? Ren Feng did not raise his head, but just asked himself, I don't think there is any hope. What do you think? Zhang Zhenqing sighed again. This sigh made Ren Feng's heart tremble slightly. Almost. Zero. Zhang Zhenqing whispered in a breath. Supplies are scarce. Internal conflicts have not been resolved. More than 100 years ago, we completely lost the opportunity to leave Proxima B and go to the starry sky. Even if there is theoretical help from the Academy of Sciences of the United Fleet, theory is theory after all. What we need most now is not theory. Ren Feng nodded silently. Indeed. After hundreds of years of hard work, he has completely recognized the reality. The root cause of all the problems in Proxima B is insufficient resources. Ren Feng turned his head and looked at the window beside him. Outside the window, there is a lifeless world. He slowly closed his tired eyes, and his mind flashed with the memory of the human fleet hundreds of years ago, not long after it left. The scenes that happened in the Proxima holographic theater once again emerged in his mind. A tear suddenly slid down his wrinkled face. I'm tired. Ren Feng's voice made Zhang Zhenqing's body tremble slightly. Zhenqing, I have an idea. Ren Feng slowly opened his eyes, and in his slightly turbid eyes, a gleam of light that had not been seen for a long time flashed. 2 years later, Earth calendar year 2505. The Gliese 555 star system has become very deserted in the past 2 years. Around the Dawn Star, a large number of human fleets are quietly parked in the dead space. Through the starship window, you can occasionally see a flash of light, but most of the time, the space inside the window is extremely dim. It's as if there is no one in these starships. But if you shift your sight to the huge spaceport and star, if you go to the ship manufacturing plant, you can see a completely different scene. Huge machines and robots of various shapes are working in full swing. Starships of various models enter the port automatically and then leave on their own. Under Zero's control, various repairs and manufacturing are proceeding in an orderly manner. Zoom out. The Star Gold mining factory on the ice giant is operating automatically. Near the main star Gliese 555. Huge Dyson clouds are quietly absorbing energy and converting it into antimatter, storing it in the corresponding area. Zoom out further outside the Gliese 555 star system. A large number of detectors have enveloped the entire star system. Human civilization at this time is like a frightened bird. 0.1 light years away from the Gliese 555 star system. With a strong wave, a fleet appeared in the empty universe. Inside the flagship in the central area of the fleet. One by one, extremely tall and thin intelligent creatures were busy working in it. They came from the star, both are 20.16 light years away. Commander, we are here. Both the man spoke an extremely obscure language in a shrill voice. If someone else heard it, they would be surprised to find that this language is very similar to the language used by the sweeper civilization. After waiting for a while, an equally shrill voice sounded. Gliese 555. Looking at the image in the holographic projection, Commander Bossa whispered, a small 4th level civilization. It actually attracted the Lord's attention. As he spoke, his face twisted slightly, and a trace of extremely crazy jealousy appeared in his eyes. It raised its 2 pairs of extremely slender hands and gestured a standard circle in front of it. At the same time, its face showed an extremely fanatical look. Lord Botha, civilization will become your most loyal believer. After the voice fell, Commander Bossa's voice suddenly became a little louder. Fleet, full speed ahead. Beep. A shrill alarm sounded in Earth. At the same time, the holographic projection in the command center automatically lit up. Lines of text slowly appeared on it. Unknown fleet detected. Fleet size determination. Level I warning. Start the wake up program. The next moment, the interior of all starships was as bright as day. Chapter 543 Stick Insect? Earth Command Center. Because they had just woken up from hibernation, everyone's face was slightly paler this time. Zero, where are they? The situation was urgent, and LV Yongchang asked directly without any nonsense. The next second, a picture appeared in the holographic projection in front of him. The content of the picture came from a detector set up outside the Gliese 555 star system. Accompanied by the piercing alarm of the active detection device. The dark universe was flashing with light that was strong or weak. This was the light from the enemy fleet. The next moment, an interstellar flare was fired. Under the strong light of the flare, an extremely large fleet slowly appeared from the dark deep space. Looking at this oppressive picture, LV Yongchang couldn't help but frown. So arrogant. Fang Zhu said what LV Yongchang was thinking. They didn't even turn off the active detection radar. LV Yongchang nodded solemnly. Indeed arrogant. The behavior of the other fleet, to describe it in a more vivid way, is like shouting from a distance of 108,000 miles, "Brother, wait for me. I'm coming to kill you." With the light of the flares, the complete image of the huge fleet appeared in front of everyone. Every starship in the fleet is of a similar shape, an ellipsoid. Of course, if you look closely, there are still some differences between these starships. The closer the starship is to the periphery, the greater the flattening of the ellipsoid, and the closer the starship is to the central area, the smaller its flattening. In simple terms, the starships in the periphery are flatter, while the starships in the central area are closer to a sphere. The flagship in the most central area, like the probe of the sweeper civilization, has almost become a standard sphere. But it is obviously not comparable to the probe of the sweeper civilization. The surface of this starship is bumpy. Various weapons and equipment are mounted on its surface. In addition, at the tail of these ellipsoids, the light of the thrusters is flashing. This gives people an extremely strong sense of disobedience, imitating others. LV Yongchang frowned and whispered, "Why do I feel that the style of these starships is a bit like the detectors of the sweeper civilization?" "I feel the same way." Fang Zhu nodded in agreement, but the technological level of this civilization has obviously not reached that level yet. It feels a bit like copying others. Yes. LV Yongchang carefully checked the data sent back by the detector. Like us, they use antimatter engines. The detector detected a large amount of high energy gamma rays. Zero. Has the other party responded to our communication request? An electronic synthesized voice sounded. No response yet. As soon as Zero's voice fell, the picture in the holographic projection instantly dissipated, leaving only a few large words. Connection interrupted. Zero? LV Yongchang's face changed slightly, and he shouted loudly. Almost at the same time, Zero gave the answer. "Professor, the detector was attacked. The person who comes is not friendly." LV Yongchang turned his head and looked at Zhao Ziji beside him. Zhao Ziji understood instantly and gave an order in a deep voice. "Attention, all units, prepare for battle. Antimatter, electromagnetic cannons, prepare for salvo fire. 3, 2, 1, more than 5,000 asteroid class, Golden Crow, battleships, as well as the giant electromagnetic cannons on the surface of Light Moon Planetary Fortress, raised their muzzles and aimed at the enemy fleet that was heading towards the Gliese 555 star system. The electromagnetic cannons have been fully charged, and the blue arc is flashing at the muzzles with just one order. The powerful antimatter shells will kick off the war. Professor, the other side has sent a video communication request." The electronic synthesized sound interrupted Zhao Ziji's countdown. Pause. The launch. Zhao Ziji quickly took back the word launch that was already on his lips. "All units, stand by." After speaking, he turned his head and looked at Lu Yongchang, who was sitting next to him. "Professor, video communication request. What do they want to do?" LV Yongchang muttered to himself with a confused face. This was the first time that human civilization received a video communication request from a different civilization. He frowned slightly, staring at the holographic projection in front of him, and whispered softly, "It actually comes with detailed dictionary information." After thinking for a moment, He raised his head, closed his eyes slightly, and raised his hand to rub his eyebrows. Connect. It's useless to think too much. It's better to just see what the other party wants to do. The moment the communication was connected, even though everyone had made sufficient psychological preparations, they were shocked by the scene in front of them and gasped, "Fuck, Zao." Ziggy on the side subconsciously leaned back and whispered as calmly as possible, "It's really F***ing terrifying, Zao." Ziggy's whispered complaints attracted the approval of the people around him. Point in the picture. There are one by one strange shaped creatures to humans. They are like creatures built of thin bamboo poles, stick, insect. In a corner of the command center, Mao Zengzi looked at the bamboo-shaped creature that was shaking constantly on the screen and said to himself with a look of doubt on his face. Obviously, his voice was a little louder. At least, everyone in the command center heard his voice. Looking at the strange creature in the holographic projection, whose movements were extremely intense and whose mouth parts kept wriggling. LV Yongchang's mouth twitched slightly, and he whispered, "Zero, turn on the sound." A harsh sound like nails scratching a blackboard came from the speaker. "Fuck your brother." Emotional damage. Listening to the complaints in the command center, LV Yongchang's mouth twitched again. "Zero, turn down the sound." The harsh sound quickly decreased, and at the same time, lines of subtitles translated by Zero in real time appeared in the holographic projection. "Human civilization, so ugly. How can there be such an ugly civilization? Damn, their voices are so ugly. Lord, is this the reason you want to punish them? Stick insect? What is a stick insect? Fuck. What does this mean? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a good word." Looking at the messy subtitles, LV Yongchang's eyes twitched violently. This is ahem. LV Yongchang cleared his throat and spoke in a deep voice. "This is the Earth Human Common Destiny Community Fleet. You." Before he finished speaking, the stick insect standing in the center made a high-pitched and piercing sound. The surrounding noise quickly disappeared, leaving only a series of extremely high-pitched sounds at the same time. That straight, large stick insect quickly danced the two pairs of slender forelimbs in front of its chest. Chapter 544. Iron-039. Lines keep you company. The Zero processed information quickly emerged on the holographic projection. "Remember, our name, Bodhan civilization. We are the Lord's most loyal believers. Human civilization, you have aroused the displeasure of the Lord. You will pay a heavy price for this. It's just a 4th level civilization. Surrendering is your wise choice. Human beings, disarm all and hand over the control permissions of the central computer. Perhaps the Lord will let you live." Inside the command center, it was extremely quiet, with only a few sharp noises coming from the speakers that scratched the darkness. Lu Yongchang raised his hand and rubbed his eyes gently, as if he didn't believe the information he saw. "Host Zero, are you sure there are no errors in the translation?" Lu Yongchang asked Ling in surprise. The next second, a brand new holographic projection appeared in front of everyone. The content is detailed dictionary information, even including specific pronunciation information. "Professor, for better understanding, this part of the title has been translated into freehand." Zero's unique electronic sound echoed in the command center. The title literally translates to "the God who gave it life and technology." Lu Yongchang's expression moved slightly. He raised his hand and gently stroked his chin, looking thoughtfully at the large stick insect waving its forelimbs in the holographic projection, and murmured softly, "This title contains a lot of information. The gods who gave it life and technology. Interesting." Lu Yongchang raised his head, looked directly at the straight large stick insects in the holographic projection, and said in a very calm tone, "Is the Lord you speak of a sweeper civilization?" As he spoke, a holographic image appeared next to Lu Yongchang. The picture in the projection is the spherical detector that was broken through the shell of the strong interaction material by the torrent of antimatter. The scratching sound from the communication loudspeaker suddenly increased in volume. Not only that, the large stick insects in the video communication were even more furious at this time. Don't ask how you can tell the emotions of a large stick insect. Just from the forelimbs waving in front of their chests like big windmills, Lu Yongchang could see how much his words stimulated these large stick insects. Damn. despicable. And, how dare you call the Lord by his name? You are guilty. You have no chance to surrender. The next second, the video communication was cut off. Lu Yongchang shrugged and turned to look at Zhao Ziji standing aside. Why are you standing there stunned? Fire, accompanied by a metal storm composed of antimatter electromagnetic guns. This war completely kicked off. As a subsidiary civilization of the Sweeper civilization, the Botha civilization naturally knows the usual routines of interstellar warfare. Therefore, after failing to persuade them to surrender, the Botha civilization also chose to use electromagnetic guns as the first weapon in the war, although the electromagnetic gun has many limitations. As the most basic kinetic energy weapon, while taking into account the killing distance and lethality, it also has one of the biggest advantages: it is cheap. At least for level 4 or level 5 civilizations, electromagnetic gun projectiles are the cheapest weapon. A metal storm composed of millions or even tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of cannonballs can not only be used to test the strength of enemy ships, but can also take this opportunity to cause damage to some enemy ships with weak defenses. Commander, it has been detected that human civilization has launched an attack on us. A large stick insect reported in a sharp voice. The weapon type is an electromagnetic gun. Looking at the data sent back by the detection device, Commander Botha showed a contemptuous smile in his eyes. Level 4 civilization is level 4 civilization, and even basic weapons like electromagnetic guns are reluctant to be used. Look at the proportion of ammunition fired by both sides. The number of cannonballs fired by human civilization is even only half of this. Such a huge disparity in numbers immediately made Commander Botha relax his vigilance. He even ordered the orientation of the optical telescope and the detector to be adjusted, and he was ready to appreciate the flashing explosions in the human fleet. After a not so long waiting period, the electromagnetic cannon projectiles fired by both sides finally met in the open space. Commander Botha narrowed his already narrow eyes and looked at the screen in front of him. He has seen this kind of scene too many times. It's nothing more than a small part of the projectiles colliding with each other and bursting out some sparks. Nothing serious. Suddenly, he widened his eyes slightly. Explosion of fire. Why are there exploding fires? Looking at the impact returned by the detector, Commander Botha suddenly had bad thoughts in his mind. After a short waiting time, high energy gamma rays. Botan man looked horrified and shouted loudly, Commander, the detector has detected a large dose of high energy gamma rays. It's antimatter. Their shells contain a lot of antimatter. Commander Botha's expression darkened, and his original desire to watch the show disappeared instantly. Antimatter? He quickly waved the two pairs of slender forelimbs in front of his chest, seeming to vent his inner anger. Are they crazy? When antimatter is added to electromagnetic gun shells, the cost of one shell will increase by at least 100 times. In the detector, the number of electromagnetic cannon projectiles fired by the enemy is rapidly dissipating at a very fast speed. Quick! Commander Botha stood up from his seat suddenly and roared with gritted teeth. Continue to fire electromagnetic cannons. Such a high-cost shell must have a small reserve. Intercept them all for me. In the dark space. With Zhao Ziji's order, the electromagnetic cannon projectiles that were first fired and in the front position started the self-destruction program. One after another, a large amount of antimatter was released. The moment it came into contact with the inner wall of the shell, the annihilation reaction brought extremely powerful energy. This energy instantly tore the thick shell of the shell completely. The specially designed shell can ensure that the shrapnel produced by the explosion is scattered forward. Under the impact of these extremely high-speed shrapnel, the electromagnetic cannon projectiles fired by the Botha civilization were instantly disrupted from their original trajectory. The antimatter projectiles at the rear took this opportunity to rush forward. They passed through the high-intensity gamma rays and the aftermath of the explosion and rushed straight to the Botha fleet in front. The other party has been detected firing electromagnetic cannons again. A hurried report sounded in the command center. Zhao Ziji quickly checked the various data sent back by the detector, and after a little thought, he gave an order in a deep voice. Continue to fire electromagnetic cannons. Execute the same strategy. Since The other party wants to fight a war of attrition. We will accompany them to the end, as he said. Ziji turned his head and looked at the porthole next to him. Point outside the porthole, various space factories are preparing various weapons and ammunition under Zero's control point at the same time. The TOT material storage ship and the Dawnstar space elevator are continuously transporting various materials in the far distance. The Dyson cloud near the main star of Gliese 555 is preparing antimatter with all its strength. This is the advantage of playing a defensive war with a star system behind it. As long as the manufacturing speed can keep up, ammunition and materials are not a problem. PS. Ask for free gifts for Love CAC Chapter 545. Invasion Plan. Both the fleet point looking at the data sent back by the detector, the harsh exchanges in the command center disappeared instantly. Point the command center, which was originally extremely noisy, is now as quiet as a library. A few seconds later the shrill siren broke the silence in the command center. Commander, the enemy's first batch of electromagnetic gun shells have arrived at the warning position. The mouthparts of a large stick insect moved rapidly and reported with an extremely harsh sound. Commander Bosa looked stiffly at the data displayed in front of him, waved his slender forearm angrily, and gave the order with some helplessness. Start laser interception. Turn on the alpha magnetic field shield and beta gravitational shield. The voice paused for a moment. Point Commander Bosa struggled to squeeze out a few syllables through his teeth. Prepare for impact. After speaking, it took a deep breath, raised its two pairs of forelimbs, and drew a standard circle on its chest. Lord, after a period of chirping, its mood gradually stabilized. Keep moving forward. The first batch of electromagnetic gun projectiles are about to contact the enemy fleet. Urgent. Reports came from the Earth Command Center. The projectile survival rate is 71.16%. Report. The enemy ship has launched laser weapon interception. The survival rate of projectiles is decreasing rapidly. The survival rate is 60.73%, 43.27%, 21.14%. The numbers in the holographic projection keep shrinking. Ziji looked at the rapidly declining survival rate of projectiles with a normal expression. This is normal. For a level 5 civilization, it is really easy to intercept some electromagnetic cannon projectiles. Turn on the magnetic field generation unit and prepare to obtain the enemy fleet shield data. Ziji gave the order seriously. Start implementing the invasion plan. This is one of the reasons why they keep firing electromagnetic guns. A so-called invasion plan targets the enemy ship's magnetic shield point. No matter how many interception methods the enemy fleet has, when faced with an extremely large number of electromagnetic gun projectiles, there will always be times when it is more than it is capable of. At that time, as long as the projectile hits the shield of the enemy ship, the magnetic field generation unit will quickly start working. These magnetic field generation units can not only generate a magnetic field shield that wraps electromagnetic gun projectiles, but can also record changes in the enemy ship's magnetic field shield in real time. And Zero, who is at the back, can use these ever-changing data to forcefully carry out cracking work. Once the crack is completed, the electromagnetic gun projectiles equipped with the magnetic field production unit can naturally be disguised as one of our own, easily pass through the magnetic field shield of the enemy ship, and directly attack the ship. Seeing that the percentage in the holographic projection had been reduced to single digits, the atmosphere in the command center became solemn. Next, it's time to verify the technology. An impact occurred. A researcher shouted, receiving impact data. Start analyzing the enemy ship's shield system. With the collisions again and again, an extremely large amount of data was transmitted into the central computer of the human fleet. Zero also begins to play its true role at this moment. In the holographic projection directly in front of the command center, pieces of analysis data began to appear, and at the same time, the shield modeling work of the enemy ships also began. A spherical starship model with bumps on the surface slowly appeared in the holographic projection. On the periphery of the spherical starship, 2 layers of translucent covers appeared. 2 layers of shields. Lu, Yongchang looked at the holographic screen, raised his eyebrows, and said to himself. Point 0 responded quickly, based on the 1327 collision data just returned. It is basically certain that some starships of the Botha civilization use composite shield technology. The outer layer is a high-strength magnetic field shield. The inner layer is a gravitational shield. Based on various data, the strength of the gravitational shield of the Botha civilization is extremely close to that of the Rathor civilization's flagship. Lu Yongchang's expression moved slightly. Are the gravity shields similar in strength? Logically speaking, it shouldn't be so weak. After all, the flagship of the latter civilization is a starship of a 4th level civilization, and the Botha civilization is a real 5th level civilization, unless the Botha civilization has just become a level 5 civilization. As soon as this idea came to Lu Yongchang's mind, Fang Zhu's confused inquiry came from the side. Some starships use composite shield technology. What about some of the starships? The picture in the holographic projection changed again. This time, it was a model of the entire fleet of the Botha civilization. Based on the impact data, it can be basically confirmed that 40% of the starships in the fleet use composite shields. The remaining 60% of starships only have magnetic shields. Sure enough, Lu Yongchang suddenly realized this Botha civilization has just become a level 5 civilization, probably because of the help provided by the sweeper civilization. The fleet has not yet completed its replacement. In this way, our chances of winning may be much higher. Just, there is a problem. As he spoke, Lu Yongchang had a trace of doubt in his eyes. What did the sweeper Wenming send them to do? We have 2-dimensional fragments. This Botha civilization is definitely no match for us. What do they want to do? Zhao Ziji, who was listening to the conversation, looked stern, and an idea flashed through his mind. He said hurriedly, Professor, it may be to delay time. If the sweeper civilization decides to attack us, they may need some time to get to Gliese 555. In this case, it is natural to send a civilization that is closer to us and has good strength. Hearing this, Lu Yongchang's expression also became serious. He nodded very solemnly, and a sense of crisis suddenly rose in his heart. That makes sense. In this case, we have to resolve this battle as soon as possible. Then, leave Gliese 555. Lu Yongchang sighed softly. It's a pity that after this war, I guess a lot of the family property I have saved in the past 2 years will be lost again. Antimatter energy is also a big problem. Maybe. Lu Yongchang's attention drifted to the star map on the side, and he fell into deep thought. Professor Zhao Ziji's voice interrupted LV Yongchang's thoughts. Apart from anything else, the antimatter energy problem is easy to solve. LV Yongchang was stunned and looked at Zhao Ziji with a puzzled look. Facing LV Yongchang's gaze, Zhao Ziji showed a faint smile on his face. He pointed to the Botha fleet model in the holographic projection. They must have a lot of antimatter energy. At this moment, LV Yongchang's slightly dim eyes suddenly brightened. Chapter 546, an attack method unique to human civilization. The second batch of electromagnetic cannon projectiles are about to hit the enemy ship's shield. Projectile survival rate 9.13%. Third batch of electromagnetic cannon projectiles survival rate 15.76%. Fourth batch. In the command center of Earth, reports rang out one after another from the increasing survival rate of projectiles. It can be seen that the balance of this war of attrition is constantly tilting towards human civilization. But the atmosphere in the command center is still extremely solemn. Everyone stared at the holographic image in front of them with great seriousness. On the one hand, Zero is doing his best to analyze the magnetic field shield of the other civilization. On the other hand, even if the Botha fleet is unable to intercept more and more electromagnetic cannon projectiles in front of the composite shield, even the projectiles equipped with antimatter are far from powerful enough. Therefore, although human civilization has a slight advantage in the appetizer of electromagnetic cannon shooting, the Botha fleet is still approaching the human fleet at a fast Speed point at this time, the Botha fleet has come to the edge of the Gliese 555 star system. The enemy ship's magnetic field shield has been successfully analyzed. Just as LV Yongchang and Zhao Ziji were thinking about the next war plan, Ling brought them good news. Great. LV Yongchang's eyes suddenly lit up, and a hint of joy flashed across his face. Only 40% of the starships of the Botha civilization have composite shields, and the remaining 60% of the starships use magnetic field shields. In this way, in front of the human fleet, the defense of most of the starships of the Botha civilization will be greatly reduced. Has it been verified? LV Yongchang asked hurriedly. Preliminary verification has been completed, and the current accuracy rate is 100%. The slightly stiff electronic synthesized sound gave everyone in the command center a bit of confidence again. Should we start the electromagnetic gun invasion program? Not now. Before LV Yongchang could speak, Zhao Ziji on the side hurriedly said, "We are too far away from the Botha fleet. If we start the invasion program now, the effect may not be very good, and it will easily make the other party alert. I suggest that we wait until they get closer and start the invasion program at the most critical moment." LV Yongchang nodded. Zero. Listen to Zhao's command. The electronic synthesized voice sounded. Received. Zhao Ziji pondered for a moment and issued another order. 0. Mobilize all the detectors equipped with plasma bombs in the Gliese 555 star system to consume the other side as much as possible. Also, speed up the manufacturing of detectors and drones. Botha fleet commander, the fleet has successfully entered the target star system. The scratching sound of nails scratching a blackboard sounded in the command room of the Botha flagship. Commander Botha stood straight and looked at the screen in front of him with impatience. What is going on with this human civilization? Why can so many detectors be deployed near the star system? As it spoke, it waved its slender forelimbs and slammed the console in front of it fiercely. Damn it, from just now to now, we have destroyed at least millions of detectors. It took a deep breath, forcibly suppressed the anger in its heart, and said with gritted teeth, "And who can tell me why they installed magnetic field shields and plasma bombs on these small detectors? How much more ammunition do we need to waste on these deadly detectors?" Obviously. No one can tell him the answer. Commander Botha looked at the scene outside the porthole. His forelimbs twitched slightly, and a strong sense of powerlessness arose from the depths of his heart. It swore that this was the weirdest scene it had seen since it commanded so many interstellar wars. Outside the porthole of the Botha fleet, large and small detectors were rushing in from all directions. Like locusts, high-energy lasers were fired from the warships of the Botha civilization, quickly destroying the probes that tried to approach the fleet. For some reason, the flight trajectories of these probes were extremely tricky and strange. That was why the laser defense array was not particularly effective. It was like, behind each probe, there was an intelligent creature operating it in real time. As soon as this thought came to mind, Commander Botha shuddered violently. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How many intelligent creatures should this civilization have to remotely control so many probes? It shook its head vigorously, threw away the incredible thoughts in its mind, and cast its eyes to the porthole on the side again. Outside the porthole. These probes, relying on extremely strange movements, broke through the high-energy lasers that blocked the layers and launched suicide attacks on the small warships outside the fleet. The plasma bombs that were constantly detonated were like raindrops, blowing out layers of ripples on the electromagnetic shields of the small warships. Commander, the magnetic shields of some warships are about to be overloaded. Commander Botha's heart sank suddenly. The worst situation has indeed happened. Before seeing the enemy fleet, the magnetic shields of the small warships could not withstand it. Switch the fleet formation. It gave an order in great annoyance. Let all warships take turns to resist the attack and buy time for the magnetic shield generation device to cool down. Looking at the constantly changing formations of the Botha fleet in the holographic projection, Zhao Ziji showed a faint smile on his face. Finally, it's time to let other civilizations see the saturation strike that belongs only to human civilization. He pressed the communication button for the entire fleet and issued an order. Attention, all units. The Enemy ship has arrived at the designated area. Prepare to release. Ball Lightning Ball. Lightning is a drone-type plasma missile proposed and designed by Taoyu to point with the help of the magnetic field generation unit inside the drone. It wraps itself with high-temperature plasma and attacks the enemy at a very high speed point under Zero's control. These drone-type missiles are more flexible than detectors. In terms of power, the Ball Lightning that focuses on attacking far exceeds those half-baked detectors. The moment Zaozij's voice just fell, several spaceport port gates suddenly opened. Endless drones swarmed out of these port gates. The moment they left the spaceport, the magnetic field generation unit set up inside automatically operated, and at the same time, the side hatch of the drone quickly opened. A stream of hot plasma spurted out from it, under the action of the strong magnetic field. These blue plasmas with golden arcs quickly wrapped up the drone. At this point, the drone-type plasma missile was officially formed. In just a few seconds, a blue light curtain suddenly appeared in the dark starry sky outside the porthole. This light curtain was composed of countless drone-type plasma missiles, covering the sky and blocking the sun. Zaoziji looked at the scene outside the porthole and whispered softly, "If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 547 Gravity Bomb Launch. Both the fleet point with countless warships taking turns resisting damage and the continuous work of laser interception arrays outside the portholes, the densely packed and endless number of detectors finally began to gradually decrease. Looking at the dark and deep universe gradually appearing outside the porthole window, Commander Botha subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Is human civilization finally going to run out of damn detectors? Is it finally their turn to fight back? Thinking of this, its body trembled slightly with excitement. During that time just now, it was so frustrated. All battleships, prepare to counterattack. Release before it could finish speaking. It froze on the spot, staring blankly at the side window outside the porthole. Through the gaps between the increasingly rare detectors, a faint blue light suddenly appeared in the dark universe in the distance. In just a few seconds, this faint blue light spot quickly enlarged. Densely packed tiny spots of light reflected in its eyes. Commander Botha's bamboo pole-like body trembled violently. That's a new attack. Defense. Defend. Immediately. Although it didn't know what those tiny blue light spots in the distance were, a bad thought arose in its mind when it thought of the suicide attack by the detector just now. As the tiny blue light spots continued to approach our own fleet, the fleet's active detection device finally detected the true identity of those blue light spots through the dense self-destruction detectors. It's a small drone. A Bossa crew member shouted in an extremely frightened voice. The surface is also covered with high temperature plasma. The number of drone groups. The crew suddenly fell silent. How many are there? The commander's terrible thoughts became more intense, and he asked sternly, "Currently, the number has exceeded 50 million, and it is growing rapidly." The broadcast crew couldn't believe their eyes, and muttered to themselves, 60 million. No, it is already more than 70 million. Start the defensive formation immediately. Commander Botha's breathing suddenly became rapid. Small starships give priority to resist the impact. The moment the words fell, the Botha fleet, which was originally a little loose, immediately began to adjust its fleet formation. The distance between each battleship quickly decreased. At the same time, battleships were stacked one on top of another to form a standard spherical shape. The center of the sphere is naturally the flagship of both a civilization. At the outermost edge of the sphere are those small starships that only have magnetic shields. When the defensive formation was formed, the first batch of Ball Lightning had already arrived in front of the Bossa fleet. Zero's precise control, coupled with the amazing mobility of Ball Lightning, greatly reduced the effectiveness of the Bossa fleet's laser interception system. Under the gaze of Commander Botha, these Ball Lightnings, which were all blue in color with golden electric snakes surging on the surface, fiercely bombarded the outermost small starships. The faint blue plasma outlines the shape of the magnetic field shield. Under the bombardment of Ball lightning. Tiny ripples slowly spread out on the magnetic field shield point. This scene only lasted for tens of seconds in the command room of Bosa's flagship. Shrill sirens sounded one after another. Commander, some battleship's magnetic shields have been overloaded. The Bossa crew screamed. Commander Botha raised his hand, hammered the console in front of him angrily, and squeezed out a few syllables through his teeth. Launch. A gravity bomb. Originally, in its plan, the final weapon such as gravity bombs should be used in close hand-to-hand combat with the human fleet. Level 4 civilizations that have not yet mastered the grand unified theory have never seen a means of using gravity to carry out attacks by surprise. Good results are bound to be achieved. But now, bang, it hammered the console in front of it hard again. Damn it, what on earth is going on with this human civilization? Is their productivity unlimited? Its curses were interrupted by an increasingly shrill siren. Quick, launch the gravity bomb directly. The contact war has not yet begun. The fleet cannot be reduced. Commander Botha's harsh voice echoed in the command room. Receive. The gravity bomb is being prepared. 3, 2, 1, launch. The side bomb openings of Bosa's flagship and secondary flagships slowly opened. Subsequently, several spherical weapons with dark surfaces were ejected from it. The process of ejection is accompanied by a strong gravitational fluctuation. The spherical weapon quickly blended into the surrounding dark space with its dark appearance. At the same time, under the influence of inertia, it quickly rushed towards the ball lightning, glowing with blue light in the distance. 1 second. 2 seconds. The distance between the two quickly closed. Finally, under the watchful eyes of all the Bothans, it successfully rushed into the ball lightning group. Those drones controlled by Zero drew a graceful arc and perfectly avoided its path. Detonate. A sharp command sounded from inside Bosa's flagship. Almost at the same time, a bright light burst out from the ball lightning group. Then, there were extremely powerful gravitational fluctuations. The surrounding light, under the influence of strong gravity, became distorted directly. The next second, a group of drone-type plasma missiles around the detonation area of the gravity bomb flew uncontrollably towards the source of the light distortion. In just a few seconds, the strong light dissipated. A spherical object constructed from the wreckage of drones appeared in the universe. Surrounding it was a large open area spreading in a spherical shape. Such scenes continued to appear in the area around the Botha fleet. In a very short time, these gravity bombs tore a hole for the fleet to break through. Fleet. Full speed. Commander Botha gave the order loudly. At the same time, a shrill alarm sounded in the Earth. Warning, ball lightning drone group suffered an unknown attack. The moment the electronic synthesized sound sounded, the huge holographic projection screen in front of the command center changed rapidly. The star map of the Gliese 555 star system appeared in front of everyone. Outside the star map was the Botha fleet marked in red. Near the Botha fleet, there were countless tiny blue dots of light. These dots of light symbolized the ball lightning drone swarm released by the human fleet. At first, these tiny blue dots of light were so dense that they almost drowned the red Botha fleet. But within just a few dozen seconds, the blue dots of light were rapidly decreasing under the gaze of everyone. Chapter 548 Macro Black Hole. The image in the holographic projection made LV Yongchang and others change their faces slightly. In such a short period of time, the battle situation was reversed in an instant. This overwhelming result made LV Yongchang think of a single possibility. They used brand new weapons and equipment. LV Yongchang ordered hurriedly. Zero, call up the relevant data immediately. As the voice fell, a series of data that had been preliminarily screened continued to emerge in the huge holographic projection. At the same time, the video data sent back from the impacted area also began to play. When he saw the extremely distorted light, LV Yongchang's face showed a hint of surprise. Gravity weapon, he murmured softly. It should be. Fang Zhu's voice came from beside him. Looking at this effect, this weapon should rely on creating a short-term strong gravity to cause damage to the enemy fleet. However, it is not clear how strong gravity it can create. LV Yongchang did not speak, but just silently looked at the image in the holographic projection. When he saw the extreme darkness in the center of the picture, he finally lost his temper. Artificial black hole. He subconsciously wanted to stand up, but was pulled back to his seat by the electromagnetic absorption device behind him. The next moment, the extremely tiny extreme darkness disappeared in the universe, as if everything that happened just now was an illusion. At the same time, the gravitational lens effect in the surrounding area also slowly dissipated. LV Yongchang looked at the holographic projection in front of him in doubt, and muttered to himself. Is it a black hole? In the holographic projection, the drone-type plasma missiles in the surrounding area were now flattened into a pile of scrap metal. Unbelievable. This weapon can actually create a macro black hole. As he spoke, he raised his hand and swiped a few times in the holographic image in front of him. When he saw the data sent back by the detector, he exhaled a long breath and said with a sense of relief, yes, they created a macro black hole. The data clearly showed that during the dissipation of the gravitational lens, that is, during the demise of the macro black hole, extremely strong Hawking radiation appeared around it. And Hawking radiation is a kind of thermal radiation emitted by a black hole. Professor, the gravitational data has been analyzed, accompanied by the sound of Zero's electronic synthesis. A curved chart appeared in the holographic projection. Looking at the peak that instantly towered in the curved chart, LV Yongchang swallowed hard. At this moment, he suddenly realized the gap between human civilization and both a civilization. Human civilization still needs to find a black hole in nature to analyze the gravitational field, while both a civilization can already artificially create macro black holes. Although the existence of a black hole is extremely short, it is a black hole after all. The enemy fleet is accelerating. A crew member reported loudly. It has reached the orbit of the ice giant. LV Yongchang's heart sank. Ice giant's orbit. That is to say, the two fleets are about to face off. Attention, all units, prepare for a head-on battle. The front battlefield was opened by a high-energy laser from the Botha fleet. Swish. The surface armor of the Golden Crow battleship that was hit was instantly burned with a big hole. But the next moment, a white smoke gushed out from the big hole. This is a passive high-energy laser blocking armor inspired by the latter civilization. When the surface armor is burned through, the liquid nitrogen and smoke bombs hidden in it will explode instantly, creating a small haze zone in the armor hit area. To avoid the continuous damage of the high-energy laser at the same time, the adaptive repair technology began to operate. A large number of nanorobots were transported to the damaged location, and under the guidance of the shipborne artificial intelligence, the ship repair work began. Not fighting back when being beaten is definitely not the style of the human fleet. Almost at the same time, under the control of the captains and crew, more than 5,000 Golden Crow battleships simultaneously started the antimatter engines. Driven by the tremendous energy brought by the antimatter engines, the huge Golden Crow battleships rushed straight towards the aggressive Botha fleet. Like the choice of the Botha fleet, the human fleet also took the lead in using high-energy laser weapons before the fleets of both sides came into close combat. The open area in the middle was already filled with various weapons: high-energy lasers, electromagnetic cannon projectiles. These are the most common means of attack. In addition to these basic attacks, high-intensity ion beams also irradiated the opponent. As soon as the frontal battle began, it entered a white-hot stage. On the battlefield, the shield generation device of the battleship was overloaded from time to time and then exploded under various attacks. However, there seemed to be something wrong with the battle loss ratio of the fleets of both sides. Commander, we have lost 37 small warships. Update: 52 small warships have been lost so far. Sharp and harsh voices continued to ring out in the command room of the Botha fleet. Looking at the growing number of casualties, Commander Botha's face became ugly. What about the other fleet? How many warships did they lose? In an instant, the noisy command room suddenly became quiet. Commander, so far, we have destroyed 6 enemy ships. Commander. Botha felt a surge of blood rushing to his head. It waved the 2 pairs of forelimbs on its chest and screamed. Why? I need to know the reason. They are only a 4th level civilization. Don't tell me that our weapons and equipment are not as good as a weak 4th level civilization. Few seconds later, the picture taken by the detector was projected in front of Commander Bosa. This is looking at the picture in front of it. It was stunned. Damn. How did they do it? In the picture, Golden Crow battleship was being attacked by high energy lasers, high energy ion beams, high energy plasma and countless electromagnetic cannon projectiles. Faced with such an exaggerated offensive, this Golden Crow battleship did not sit still and wait for death point. With the help of a powerful antimatter engine, it constantly maneuvers at various angles to avoid most attacks at the same time. The secondary guns on its side continuously emitted lasers and electromagnetic cannons, accurately intercepting each electromagnetic cannon projectile fired at the key position point for high energy lasers. It continuously released bursts of white smoke on its surface, and used these white smoke to quickly weaken and block the attack of laser weapons. When the white smoke dissipated, the pits that had just been ablated by the laser weapons had automatically recovered. More importantly, for those high energy ion beams and plasma weapons that can only be resisted by shields, this warship of human civilization did not activate the magnetic field shield covering the entire ship, but instead released a regional magnetic field shield in a targeted manner. This move greatly increased the limit of the magnetic field shield generation device. Relying on these miraculous operations, the human fleet resisted the artillery attack from the Botha civilization. Chapter 549. Let these level 4 bugs see this. During the countless long-range artillery bombardments, the distance between the two fleets kept getting closer. The atmosphere in the command center of Earth became increasingly tense. The holographic projection in front of everyone quickly refreshed the latest battle situation from the front line. Orders were issued from the command center and sent to the front line through long-distance communication devices. Every alarm sounded, which meant that a Golden Crow battleship was in crisis. Beep. A crisp reminder sounded in the command center. The enemy fleet has arrived at the third defense area. The distance between the fleets of both sides has reached the warning line. The moment the electronic synthesized sound sounded, Zaozij's face suddenly became a little heavy. The third area is the last defense area of the human fleet. Simply put, if the Botha fleet is allowed to move forward, Dawnstar will be directly threatened. Although there is currently no one living on the surface of Dawnstar, it has a large number of industrial facilities, especially those space elevators, which are of utmost importance. In addition to the surface of Dawnstar, there are also a large number of military factories and spaceports built in space around Dawnstar. Once this area is attacked, the productivity level of the human fleet will drop sharply. The greatest advantage of the human fleet will also disappear in an instant. Therefore, the third area is the front line that the human fleet must not lose. Attention, all units, prepare for close-range hand-to-hand combat. At the moment of issuing the order, Zaoziji clenched his fists tightly, and his knuckles turned slightly white. Although the hand-to-hand combat in the interstellar era is not as close as on Earth, the bloodiness is not reduced at all. Each of our warships may be besieged by several or even dozens of enemy ships, and the enemy ships may also be attacked by dozens of warships at any time. Therefore, once the hand-to-hand combat begins, the warship's loss rate will increase greatly in a short period of time. All Golden Crow, release the shipborne drone group immediately. Prepare to start Gamma Ray Cluster Cannon in order to deal with the next hand-to-hand combat. Zaoziji issued orders in an orderly manner. LV Yongchang was naturally not idle. Mo. Xiang, start the central computer overclocking function. Fang. Zhu, pay close attention to the abnormal gravitational phenomenon of the enemy ship. Tao. Yuda, the central computer overclocking function is a function specially developed by Mo Xiang to meet the hand-to-hand combat. Once turned on, the optical quantum computer, which is the central computer of the fleet, can temporarily increase the computing performance by about 10%. This is an extremely huge improvement for 0. It can control each starship to make more precise micro operations, so as to greatly reduce the loss rate of its own fleet. Of course, this overclocking must have a price. In a short period of time, the cooling system will bear great pressure. If the overclocking time is too long, the temperature of the core area of the optical quantum computer will be too high, which will cause great damage to the central computer. Golden Crow, Battleship Group. Under the seemingly endless artillery attack, the surface of the originally invisible magnetic field shield was filled with layers of ripples composed of high temperature plasma. Suddenly something strange happened. The hatch on the side of each Jinwu battleship slowly opened. Densely packed small shipborne drones came out of it one after another as soon as they left the mothership. These shipborne drones activated the magnetic field generation unit under the control of the shipborne artificial intelligence. These shipborne drones went straight over the magnetic field shield constructed by Jinwu and slowly circled around the Jinwu battleship. A large number of shipborne drones supported a peculiar conical shield for the Jinwu battleship. As the number of shipborne drones gradually increased, the magnetic field shield on the surface of the Jinwu battleship, which was constantly fluctuating, gradually returned to stability. At the same time, some damaged parts on the surface of the battleship also took this opportunity to start repair work. The changes have not stopped. A large number of plasma weapons from the Botha fleet fiercely bombarded the shield built by the shipborne drone. Then, under the action of the special magnetic field shield, these high temperature plasmas were bound to the area around the drone. Under the artillery attack of the enemy ship, the densely packed small plasma shield slowly took shape. From the outside, this conical shield built by the shipborne drone has now become a charging ram. The next moment, the antimatter engine at the tail of the Golden Crow battleship roared, pushing the huge battleship, with the ram glowing with a faint blue plasma light, and rushed straight towards the Botha fleet. This is not an isolated case. More than 5,000 Golden Crow battleships, at this moment, cast more than 5,000 plasma rams. Botha fleet. Looking at the real-time images sent back by the detector, Commander Botha fell silent. In the vast universe, these more than 5,000 huge plasma horns, with extremely powerful momentum, rushed straight towards their own fleet. It is certain that this kind of suicide attack, let alone him, probably no one in the entire Botha civilization has ever seen it. Commander Botha looked at the menacing warships in the picture, and his body trembled slightly. It slowly raised the two pairs of forelimbs on its chest, and gestured a standard circle in front of it. Lord, a hint of fanaticism rose in its eyes, and it whispered softly, "Your loyal servant will clear all obstacles for you." The next moment, it put down the two pairs of forelimbs in front of it and roared, "Everyone, it's time to prove yourself to the Lord. All fleets, charge. Prepare to drop the curvature bomb. I want to let these level 4 bugs see what a level 5 civilization is." The voice fell. The flagship in the central area of the Botha fleet opened the hatch on the abdomen. One after another, the black larger spherical objects quickly popped out of the hatch. A few seconds later, a strange gravitational fluctuation was released from these spheres. The next moment, they disappeared from the sight of all Botha people. Inside the Botha flagship, the curvature bomb has entered curvature navigation. Current speed 10c, 10 times the speed of light. Both the crew member reported loudly. Commander Botha nodded and looked at the real-time picture from the detector in front of him. In the picture, the human fleet was still charging forward with the conical plasma ram, and at the same time, it launched various attacks on the Botha fleet. Perhaps because of the fear of the gravity bomb attack of the Botha fleet, the human fleet at this time seemed much sparser, and each warship was separated by a certain distance. If measured, it can be found that the distance between human warships is exactly the range of influence of the first batch of gravity bombs. But Commander Botha was not worried at all. It raised the two pairs of forelimbs on its chest in an enthusiastic manner, gesturing and muttering, "Lord, P.S. There is only one chapter today. I feel something is wrong with my body. I hope it is not Xiaoangren. Chapter 550 Curvature Bomb. Lord." Before the words could be finished, bursts of bright light erupted from the human fleet. "Commander, the warp bomb has been successfully detonated." A slight report sounded in his ears, and Commander Botha showed a fanatical smile on his face. He did not look up at the scene of the curvature bomb exploding on the screen, but just whispered softly, "Thank you again to the Lord for the technology you have given us." A few minutes ago. Inside Earth, seeing the shrinking distance between the two fleets, everyone present secretly sweated. Although they are not on the front line, every order they give determines the life and death of countless soldiers on the front line. It always feels a little weird. A weak voice sounded from the side point before Lu Yongchang could react. Zhao Ziji on the side trembled suddenly as if he had been electrocuted. Fuck, Zhao. Ziji looked at Gao Yang, who was sitting next to him, with a horrified expression, and shouted in a low voice, Gao Yang, please stop. Hearing this familiar name, Lu Yongchang felt his heart skip a beat. He still vividly remembered the last time Gao Yang spoke. Facing Zhao Ziji's stop, Gao Yang's lips trembled a few times, trying to defend himself. Zhao Ziji, who was originally serious, couldn't stand it anymore. At this critical moment, please stop talking, okay, ahem. Looking at Gao Yang, whose eyes were full of anxiety, Lu Yongchang's eyes flashed with helplessness, and he coughed slightly, to interrupt the communication between the two. Gao Yang, please tell me first, where is the problem, Professor? The other party has not come up with anything new, except gravity bombs so far. Don't you think it's a little strange? Gao Yang hurriedly expressed his doubts. Hearing this, Lu Yongchang was stunned. Like, is that what happened? As a 5th level civilization, so far, except for the short-lived gravity bomb some time ago, the Botha fleet has used similar weapons and equipment to the human fleet. Maybe there is a limit to the distance at which gravity bombs can be used. Fang Zhu interjected from the side. The Botha fleet used gravity bombs just now when the drone group was close to their faces. We have reason to suspect that this kind of gravity bomb is not very stable and cannot support long-distance launch missions. Lu Yongchang did not reply, but frowned and looked at the real-time picture in the holographic projection. The fleets on both sides were trying their best to charge forward despite the other's firepower. Everything looks so normal. Fang Zhu, have you observed any abnormal gravitational phenomena? Lu Yongchang pondered for a moment and then asked. Not yet, Fang Zhu said as he turned his gaze to the holographic projection beside him. Wait a minute. Looking at the data in the holographic projection, the expression on his face gradually became serious. Something's wrong. What? A problem? Fang Zhu's words lifted everyone's spirits in less than a second. The atmosphere in the command center had become tense. What's going on? Lu Yongchang frowned, and his tone suddenly became more serious. The detector has just discovered abnormal gravitational fluctuations in the Botha fleet. As he said that, Fang Zhu projected the picture in the holographic projection in front of everyone. Lu Yongchang looked at the gravitational fluctuation data on the screen with deep doubts in his eyes. No, that's not a reaction to a gravity bomb. As he spoke, he raised his hand and swiped the holographic projection in front of him a few times to call up some data. Everyone can take a look. The gravitational fluctuations caused by gravity bombs are more severe and rapid than that. The two are not of the same magnitude at all. This pattern of gravitational fluctuations. Lu Yongchang raised his hand and touched his chin and said thoughtfully, it's a bit like the gravitational fluctuations before the latter civilization entered curvature navigation. At this point, Lu Yongchang was already stunned on the spot. A crazy idea suddenly flashed through his mind. Without any time to think about it, he turned around and shouted loudly at Zhao Ziji on the side, quick, evacuate the fleet. Let all the battleships disperse. Zhao Ziji was stunned. Based on his trust in Lu Yongchang, he directly pressed the fleet communication button without any hesitation. Attention. All units, evacuate the fleet. Repeat, disperse the formation immediately. Not long after he finished speaking, an extremely dazzling light appeared in the Golden Crow battleship group. Almost at the same time, a piercing siren sounded in the Earth command center. Warn, abnormal gravitational fluctuations detected. Abnormal areas 1, 3, 9, 16. The ever-increasing bright red fonts jumped into the eyes of everyone present, accompanied by dazzling lights, shocking everyone's hearts. Fuck. Looking at several gravitational anomalies soaring instantly in the holographic projection, Lu Yongchang hit the console in front of him with an ugly expression. Gravity bomb. On the side, Zhao Ziji turned slightly pale, pressed the communication button for the entire fleet, and shouted loudly in a slightly hoarse voice, attention. All units, disperse your formation immediately. First fleet 4th Fleet, 7th Fleet, please reply when you receive it. Yongchang. Fang Zhu's pupils trembled slightly, and he murmured in a low voice, what on earth is going on? All detectors have not found any traces of gravity bombs reaching the fleet. How did they do it? LV. Yongchang looked at the holographic projection in front of him with a bitter face. In the projection, there were those inconspicuous gravitational fluctuation data point. He was silent for a while and said softly, curvature. Navigation technology. They used curvature navigation technology on artillery shells. I should have thought of it earlier. LV Yongchang's eyes were full of regret. This kind of attack method that exceeds the speed of light is the biggest gap between the 5th level civilization and the 4th level civilization. Shh. A noisy sound came from the loudspeaker next to him. 1st Fleet. 1st Fleet received. Please speak. 4th Fleet. 4th Fleet received. Familiar voices rang out in the command center, restoring a lot of color to everyone's faces outside the porthole. The dazzling light slowly dissipated. The tragic situation of the Golden Crow Fleet was also clearly presented to everyone. 0. Report the battle situation. LV. Yongchang said with difficulty. 0's electronic synthesized voice was as calm as ever. 1st Fleet, 23% loss rate. 4th Fleet, 19% loss rate. Total loss of warships, 623. In the command center, there was a dead silence. In just a few seconds, the human fleet lost more than 10% of its warships. PS. It shouldn't be Xiaoyang people, so it's not a big problem. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.